Today's podcast is brought to you by nobody, no one. We have nobody to support us. However, if you want to get involved, get in touch at elevate@tsa-podcast.com. That's elevate@tsa-podcast.com. Next up on the TSA podcast, we have a very special guest. This man was part of the Raiders team that played in the Super Bowl, which is a bit mental. Why he even agreed to come and talk to me, I've got no idea. However, it was a very interesting chat, lots of fun. This is episode 3. There's something about Tony Lukins.
So anyway, my son, that's why in class I'll take him down, try to get on top and hit him, and hey man, like, what are you gonna do? What do you do here? So if he does ever get into the situation, it's not brand new. Like, yeah, it's not gonna have the same intensity as it would in the street, but I mean, you got your dad on top of you in class beating you up. I mean, you're at that, oh crap, what the heck's going on moment, and you have to snap back, and you got to be ready to go, and then you have to remember your techniques and do them. Muscle memory will help that, right? Yeah. So again, like doing jiu-jitsu, I mean, it's a muscle memory thing, because as you know, when you get into a situation like that, it's not, oh, let me think about exactly what I'm going to do. No. Especially as a 15-year-old, right? So, I mean, 40-some-year-old man, okay, yeah, you might have a little bit more cognitive power at that point, but most people, no, they're in freak-out mode, right?
Yeah.
So muscle memory is...
That's cool they do it.
Yeah. So I mean, and the little guy, he just wants to fight me all the time. I'm like, when he's a little bit bigger, I'll give him the same,
a few slaps.
Yeah, little. But I mean, it's not like I'm slapping him to beat him up. I'm swinging my arm widely, and so you can block and understand this is what's coming.
Yeah.
So
yeah, you save that other one for when they're misbehaving.
Yeah. Honestly, man, I'm pretty lucky. My kids are pretty good. Like, they're like any kids. They don't listen to some things, but I've conditioned them to, all right, come on, man, let's go. So I'm getting to the point where I don't even have to raise my voice at all, which I don't want to do anyway. So I'm pretty lucky, man.
That's good. We live? Oh, we're live. Oh,
all
right. That's like my friend. He's, like everyone's sort of, your friends' dads or
for sure,
mums and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And my friend's dad, he played rugby league in Australia at a high level, so he's like a big sort of scary guy.
Yes.
And he didn't even have to say anything. He'd just give like a look.
Yeah.
And then like everyone would be like, oh.
Yeah.
Like, he's just a looker, and then he didn't even have to. I remember my friend Nathan. He say like, say, oh man, your dad's like super scary. He's like, yeah, but like he is, but like he's never touched me.
Yeah.
Just back then, a little bit of corporal punishment is part of discipline, right? Part of growing up. But like his dad never had to do nothing. It's just he had that look.
I'm to the point where I can give him a look, but I can be honest. I'm guilty of a little corporal punishment.
Careful what you say.
Not too much. I mean, they're not. I mean, you've met my son. Obviously he's a happy kid. But I mean, at 15 years old, corporal punishment. The only corporal punishment I'm giving him is knee on belly, right? and he knows how to defend that for the most part.
Yeah,
he's like,
so
no,
that's all okay.
Yeah. So I mean, it's all in the spirit of jiu-jitsu, right?
There you go. And raising a good child.
I mean, you got to know, man, there's consequences for your actions. You know what I mean? Because as you become an adult and you think there's no consequences for your actions, then you might be in trouble. You might be
at
in trouble.
some point.
Yeah. And it just raises the possibility. Not necessarily will happen, but, the less chances you give yourself to get in trouble, the less likely you're going to get in trouble.
Right. Like, keep your head down.
Exactly.
And depends where you are, right? Like, if you're back home in the States, like, things are a little bit more... open in terms of the possibilities of.
I was going to say, let's say a little more lackadaisical in terms of law enforcement.
There you go.
Yeah, let's say that.
Yeah.
So
where in the States are you from?
So my father was in the military. I was born in El Paso, Texas.
Mm-hmm.
We traveled often. It was like to Germany, back to El Paso. But the military life, you're traveling every 3 years.
Germany.
Yeah.
What type of military life?
Würzburg, Germany. So my father was in the army. Basically he was, I don't want to call my father a grunt, but he was a guy that was really good at what he did, worked really hard. You could always count on him, but he was a guy that he didn't want to go do the extra school to, get the higher rank.
Mm-hmm.
So he didn't get, the promotions and the better jobs all the time, right? So, so we're kind of one of those families that we did all right. We're comfortable, but not, we couldn't go travel anytime we wanted to, like I can now with my family. But I lived in Germany for many years as a kid, and in Singapore it's a little different because they speak English, right? But in Germany, I'm riding the public transit system and trying to go to the Schwimmbads and different things. And it was a little difficult because I couldn't speak German. I had to learn some German to be able to get around.
So you can get by now if you went back.
Probably, especially with my translation app that I have, on my iPhone.
That would be just fine.
Yeah, but there are some things I could absolutely just say and have a small conversation to get by. I can find the bathroom. I can ask for regular water, not sparkling water. So I think I could get by. But the United States, especially El Paso, Texas, is much different culture, right? I mean, El Paso, Texas is a border town, right next to Mexico. There's a cartel presence. It's kind of crazy. So,
I think because I'm watching Breaking Bad again.
Oh gosh, yes.
And they're down in El Paso or something.
Yeah.
So it's literally like it's right on the border.
Oh, you can literally. So the University of Texas El Paso is in El Paso, right? You could literally stand on campus at the University of Texas El Paso, and you can see over the border into Mexico.
Right.
Like you'll see the Mexican flag flying. It's absolutely right there.
That's cool.
It's closer than Malaysia.
Right.
So yeah. So it's kind of a crazy place, man. I would if you can avoid it, I wouldn't go.
Really?
Yeah. Not me. I'm not trying to go back. I mean, it's crazy because it's my hometown. There's things that I love about it, but not a place I really want to take my kids, man. It's just I just feel like there's too much that could happen.
Like proper danger.
Yeah, especially living in Singapore, right? Like I'm not worried about anything. I mean, I think the worst thing I'm worried about is getting my shoes wet, right? But no, man. I saw some crazy stuff.
But like cause of cartel or just cause of stuff that's going down in America.
Well, that too, right? So,
right.
And then down there is predominantly Mexican, right? I'm a white guy. I'm the minority for sure. So there's a little discrimination on both sides. I mean, white people to Mexicans and Mexicans to white people, but not everybody. Like I one of my best friends in the world is a Mexican guy from El Paso. But just things that happen. I mean, you could be in the wrong place at the right time and get shot. You could, there could be stuff going down with drugs and, next door, you don't know.
Yeah.
So it's just not a place I would want my children. And the scenery is terrible, right? It's the desert. It's not like, they're flying in plants like they do to Singapore, right? And trees,
right.
like it's not like that. So
very arid, like.
Yeah, it just has a dangerous feel to it. I mean, listen, if you live there your whole life and you're from maybe you're from the Bronx or you're from Compton, maybe not, right? But if you've been there for a while, anything could pop off at any time. Just because, I mean, the location. I mean, it's a port to and from different countries, right? That people come back and forth from.
Any border town, they say can
right.
be like that.
Yeah.
Right?
So you understand border towns, right? So it was a little nuts, and in Texas they love their guns, right?
Right.
So everybody got guns, and it's the wild, wild west, man.
But that's what I hear, because I got a friend who's there now, and he said everyone's so polite. He's like, because if you're not, the other person might have a gun,
you
right?
might get shot in the face, right?
It's in your interest to be nice.
It is,
which is good, right?
Yeah, but it's a very shallow nice, right? Because what happens if somebody didn't just steal your parking spot, right? What if somebody hits your car?
Yeah.
Or what if somebody, does something else that kind of sets you off, right? Somebody might have a gun. Oh, that's not.
Yeah.
I'm good.
So, did you have a gun?
Well, I have a gun, yes.
Yeah.
But not because I like guns or I feel like I need to tote a gun. I have a gun because I want to keep my family safe.
Well, so because everyone else has a gun.
Exactly. So
then you kind of have to.
I do jiu-jitsu, right? Like, if a one guy came in my house with no weapon, maybe I can handle, and at least fight him off enough to where, like, okay, I don't want to do this, I'm out, right?
But if you're watching TV and he comes in your house and you got the gun, you don't get up and do stuff. You just be like, hey.
Well,
and then he turns around and goes.
Well, forget about that. It's not even about like being comfortable, right? What if he comes in with a gun?
No.
Like I can't jujitsu a bullet.
No.
Right? So, and I've heard the term, the only thing to stop a bad guy with a gun is a good guy with a gun. So I would hate to, somebody's in my house and I go downstairs and, hey, man, get out of here. Boom, and I'm shot, right?
Yeah.
And then he can do whatever he wants to my family or my house or whatever. But I have a gun that has a laser sighter on it, right? Yeah. So if I go downstairs and I say, hey, man, do you see this laser sighter? Like, you need to leave. You know what I mean? And really, that's it. That's really the only reason why I have one. Not because I even want to shoot anybody. No. I don't even like going to the range, honestly.
No?
No, it's loud. If you ever shoot bullets and like the casing comes out and it hits your skin, like it's hot.
Okay.
And then I suck, like I can't shoot, hence the laser sighter, right? So...
But I like the laser sighter because, like, if I'm breaking in someone's house, and then I see a red dot on me, I'm like,
exactly.
Okay, I might try next door.
Right, exactly. It's a deterrent. More than
Exactly.
anything, it's a deterrent, right?
Right.
Now, of course, it's at night. Imagine the house is dark and somebody you don't know is in your house, and you got this red dot on them. Okay, yeah, if I shoot, it's going to shoot true, right?
Oh, it's good for you as well then, right?
Right,
like,
it is.
Because you never want to have to use the gun. Like, I know we're joking around. You never want to have to use it.
But more than anything, it's a deterrent. It's like, hey, you see this red dot, man, you should leave. You know what I mean? Like, I don't... Because, listen, in the United States, if somebody comes in your house, I don't want to say that, it's a get out of jail free card to shoot somebody, because I don't want people thinking that, because it's not. But a lot of people think that. Like, if you'll hear Americans say, "Oh, he was in my house," or he's getting messed up,
Like some dudes are at home watching TV and they hear someone break in, they're like, yes.
I wish this dude would come in here. You know what I mean, right? That's not me at all. Like I'm the guy because I value life too. Even if you're being a turd, I still value life, right? So I don't want to shoot you, and now I got to live with the guilt of killing somebody. Yeah, I got
serious
it.
Thing.
Yeah, I mean that's not for me at all.
So when I was in South Africa, and I think at the time it was in '99, and that's when Mugabe had just started doing those things in Zimbabwe, and there was like a lot of unrest in the region, and was threatening to spill over into South Africa. They didn't know if it was going to sort of be at the same level.
Got it.
But everyone there has a gun.
Yeah.
Like my friend, his mum just has a 308 in her purse. Like, and just everyone's got a gun. And
it's not that bad, I don't think, in the States, but
right. But there, like, we were driving along the road, and like we drove past someone like shooting at another person out of a car. And he hadn't been back for a while. I knew him from London, and we went there, and we were going to like travel around and see big game and stuff like that, right? And he was like a little bit nervous because he hadn't been back, and he's like, "Luke, you should learn to shoot," because we were going to go camping and stuff. So you're quite exposed, right?
For sure.
So he was like, you should learn to shoot. So I was like, okay, like if you think so. So then he got his gun, and then it's fucking stupid, right? He's like, we'll go to the shooting range. So I'm like, yeah, okay, cool. Like, and I had flip-flops on, right? So that I didn't think. No, actually, the reason why was because I left my shoes at his uncle's place because we'd been already on a road trip. We flew into Johannesburg, we went to somewhere called Pietermaritzburg, and then we were in Cape Town. And I left my shoes at his uncle's, so I still only had flip-flops. But then, so we get to the shooting range, and he's like, so we just go up this hill and it's around the back. I was like, what are you talking about? He's like, it's an old shooting range, so you kind of got to break in. I'm like,
oh, you got to break into the shooting range?
Yeah, I was like, yeah, but what if someone's shooting? He's like, no, it's cool, like no one ever uses it. I'm like, okay. So we're sort of like walking through all like bush and stuff, or
woods as we call it in the US,
And then it's pretty wild there, right? It's Africa, and there's a snake, like it's a puff adder, it's called, like, and it starts sort of.
I don't do snakes. I'm like Indiana Jones.
It's making this sort of noise, and he jumps up on a rock. And I jump up as well, and he's got the gun. I was like, "Don't shoot the snake! Don't shoot nothing! Let's let it go away." Thing, right? It was pretty crazy, but I could do it actually. We were just shooting like cans. And stuff like that. And he's like, "Oh, you're pretty good." But then in the end, we were crossing borders, so we couldn't couldn't bring the gun. So we brought
guns,
a little axe that we were cutting up wood.
Yeah.
And
I mean, it's a weapon. You got something.
A pair of nunchuckers, like seriously, like literally a pair of nunchuckers, and a broomstick cut in half,
Okay.
like like a curly sticks.
Yeah.
And it was only 2 times that we thought we were gonna have to use it. There was one time we were camping in the middle of nowhere. Some dude just turns up and says, "Give me beer." I'm like, "Oh, we don't have beer." He's like, "You guys have beer? Give me beer." Oh, we don't have beer, man.
Yeah.
So that night, I was just sort of sleeping with the axe,
oh gosh,
on my chest.
that would have been terrible.
Yeah,
that's not fun.
Yeah, tents don't offer much protection.
Yeah, and again, I'm not a big gun guy, man. And luckily, I've never been in a situation like that. Like, I mean, you said it twice. I haven't been in a situation where I might have had to use my gun. Thank goodness. But man, I mean, for a snake, I might have shot a snake. I'm scared to death of snakes. But other than that, no, man, I've been lucky.
For some people, it's like second nature, right? So the only other time I shot a gun was in Ireland.
Yeah.
And like it's rural, right? Like, well, parts of it, and the parts that we were, it was rural, and it was like I was visiting this family, and the son, like sort of my age, his name was Padraig. Okay,
yeah.
And then he's like, "Oh, I've got a new gun. Do you want to see me gun?"
I've got a new gun.
Yeah, for sure. And because he was hunting deer,
Mm.
right? So it's like a proper sniper thing. It's got like the legs on like the bipod on the front, a silencer, and so he's showing me the gun.
Yeah, that's not a gun. That's a rifle. No, like that's
same thing, no?
They both shoot for sure, man. But
he just like opens the window. We're upstairs in the house. Just pops the legs down and then just starts like he goes, "I'll get the fence post," and then like just shoots out of his house right across the field. And then his dad runs up and goes, "Oh, they're shooting!" Yeah. So excited.
No, you know what? And I think shooting is like anything, right? It could, like there's sport shooting,
right?
And it's one of those things like jiu-jitsu or judo or proper football, as you would call it, right? It's working on your craft, right? It's just being good at something that you enjoy doing. But for me, it's just not. It's not something that I.
Well, they're there to kill. Like
right.
That's the purpose of a gun.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's just not what I'm trying to do at all.
No, that's good.
Yeah,
that's a good thing. So you live like right on the border. Did you go into Mexico much?
I'm not gonna say much. I will tell you, I probably went a few times as a teenager that I should not have gone.
Right. What, like to go like drinking and
get
up to mischief?
Oh yeah, to go hang out and I mean, come on, I'm a teenager. The drinking age in the U.S. is 21, but
right.
They don't care. They'll let you drink. If you look old enough, then you can buy drinks, right? So we went a few times, went to some clubs, but just really oblivious to the danger. You know what I mean? And I like to think of myself as a fun dude, though, right? So I'm like, oh, I'm gonna go have some fun. I'm not, and you're a teenager, you're indestructible, right? And nothing's gonna happen to me, So we went a few times, man. We saw some crazy things happen. We're a part of some crazy things sometimes, but not. I didn't go a lot. A handful of times in every year probably, but not much at all. There was a time I was playing college football at New Mexico State University, and it was in Las Cruces, New Mexico, where the university is, which is about 45-minute drive to the border. So, man, we go out one time, and football teams, right? So there's the University of Texas El Paso. They would go across the border too, and then we're right down the road. We would go, and we'll end up in the same club sometimes, and sometimes we would fight. Oh,
really?
Yeah, it's so stupid. It's the stupidest thing ever. But one time,
it's like rivalry.
Yeah, it's the rivalry. It's let's put our things on the table. Who's is bigger? You know what I mean? But one time, somebody got stabbed in the butt cheek. In the butt cheek, right? And I'm just like,
at least it's not the heart. Or
listen, he didn't die. He didn't lose control of his hand or anything. But he got stabbed in the butt cheek, and it was just. I mean, it was comical, but after we all got out of it and we're okay and nobody's seriously injured, and we're like, oh man, this dude is bleeding, like he got stabbed, and then we find out it was like a little, 3 or 4 inch knife or something like that, stabbed in the butt cheek, and now he's forgive my pun, the butt of the jokes, right? You know what I mean?
Yeah, that followed him forever.
Yeah. Oh gosh, but it's like,
But sorry, was someone from the other team?
No, someone from our side that got stabbed in the butt cheek.
Right. Yeah, but someone from the other team stabbed.
Honestly, it gets so crazy. I'm not even sure if it was another player that did it. It could have been, one of these gangs that. I mean, honestly, if I'm being completely honest, I wasn't 100% sober. So I couldn't tell you exactly who did it, but I mean, scary stuff though. You know what I mean? Because the guy, he was out for a little while. He couldn't play. He had this stab wound in his butt cheek, and he was fine eventually, obviously, but. I mean, come on, man. What if you got stabbed in the butt cheek and you're getting ready to play for a conference championship or something, and now you can't play? I mean, it's absolutely nuts,
And the coach is going to be pissed.
Oh, gosh. Our coach, when he found out we were going down there getting in trouble, this dude, he almost had an aneurysm, man. This guy was upset at us, right? I was mostly, clean cut, clean nose, didn't get in a lot of trouble, but, man, every once in a while I would go out and hang out, but... Yeah, he wasn't happy with that. He got to the point where he said, "You guys are not allowed to go to Mexico."
Yes. He outlawed it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So tell us about football, because I know that you played football.
Yep.
American football or NFL or gridiron,
which we're going to call proper football.
Okay. I know. Sorry, I'll start again. I know that you played proper football.
Appreciate that.
But I don't know much about it. Like I seen what I seen on TV.
Mm-hmm.
But I know a few teams. And I know that you have an offensive team and a defensive team.
Yes.
I understand what a quarterback is, and I understand.
Everybody knows who that guy is.
I understand the general goal of the game, and people block, and you sort of give the quarterback freedom. He throws it, and someone who doesn't get blocked hopefully runs and catches it, and either makes meters. Or yards.
Sorry. Yeah, we go wide yards. Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Or you get a touchdown.
Yeah.
But I don't understand how it works. It amazes me. I always hear about these college games that there's massive amounts of people and.
Oh, so.
I don't understand that culture and how it is.
Let me help you with this just a little bit.
School me.
First of all, we're just gonna say Americans. We always got to do it a little differently, right? I mean, come on, we're literally. Other than the UK, I think they use stones, right? But we're literally the only country in the world that's not on the metric system, right? I mean, we talk about yards, or everybody else uses meters. We use yards and inches and feet, right?
Yeah, it's very annoying.
Listen, I'm annoyed, right? Because people will say, "Oh, I'm 1.8, meters, or I'm 180 centimeters," and I'm just like, "Man, okay, Google, what is that in feet?" Oh, you're 5'11". Okay, got it, right? So. It's annoying for me too. But we also play this game that the rest of the world doesn't play, right? Everybody else, the number one watch sport in the world is football, soccer, right. What you would call proper football, right?
There you go.
And I think the second most is basketball or something like that. But and I'm not sure, you can do some fact checking on that. I don't know, but I'm sure football, as you would call it, is the number one sport in the world.
And that's number one.
Yeah, I think that's number one. So we play a whole nother game that includes violence and aggression and big hits, and you know what I mean? So, that's just America, right? We want to be different, and we want to do it bigger, and so we have these football teams, right? And they're in these different cities around the country. And, we're a prideful nation, yes? So where you're from is kind of big, right? So if you grew up in L.A. or if you grew up in New York, San Francisco, Dallas, all these different places, we love our teams. And we gather to watch them play.
So you but you kind of should support the team that you grew up around?
Well, typically, okay, so I was brainwashed as a child, right? Even living in Europe and in Texas, my father was a Raider guy, okay? So I think I had my first taste of beer sitting on my father's lap watching the Raiders play football, you know what I mean? So definitely brainwashed. I was lucky enough to play for the Raiders in my professional career, but typically dads are like, "Oh, we're going to watch this team. This is our team," Your kids see all your team logos and stuff around, so they kind of just adopt it.
You inherit it.
Exactly, right? Now, I understood how this worked, right? So my son, he's an Arizona Cardinals guy. Now, he doesn't watch football at all. He doesn't like football, but he'll hear about the Cardinals and, oh yeah, Dad, I like the Cardinals. So I'm just like, no, you don't. You're a hometown guy, right? So typically that's how it goes. You grow up learning about a team and watching the team, and then if you go move to another city, like you're still watching your team.
Right.
But if you grow up somewhere, your dad likes that team, you're probably going to like that team.
Uh-huh.
And it's everywhere, okay? I'm talking like you drive down the street, you see kids playing in the park, they're playing football. We have this thing called Pop Warner where it's like little guys playing football from the ages of 5 to 15 years old, right?
That's what you said this jersey was.
Yeah, your jersey is Pop Warner jersey, practice jersey, that's right.
This is cool, I like this.
Hey, Tom Brady, Pop Warner practice jersey, all good.
There you go.
But we love it.
I mean, that's like little league sort of thing for football.
Pop Warner, exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. So, and then you get to high school football, and then from high school is college, and then the pros, right? But literally every level of your life, there's, as a male, if you're playing football, there's football. And commercials are, centered around football. I mean, I think the most expensive slot in TV
Super Bowl.
is the Super Bowl. Halftime is Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Or not even just halftime, but during the Super Bowl. Because it's the biggest time people are watching TV in the States.
But even here, like when Super Bowl was on down the road, it's the finals on soon, right?
Well, the season is going to end in a couple weeks here, and then they'll have the playoffs. So the finals isn't going to be probably till around February.
Yeah.
So, but we love our football. I mean,
so like you played at a professional level, which is pretty cool. So, but how do you get there? Like, what's the path? So, for example, like in English football, people that they could send scouts out. Or like you might get invited to try out, or
right.
And you sort of go up through these levels. But like I'd say, from what I hear, American football seems like it's always sort of seems school based or something.
Oh, so it's not quite different from what you're speaking about. So, like I said, you start playing Pop Warner typically. I mean. Football, American football, you typically don't see players go and play in the National Football League or professionally if they didn't play as a kid. I mean, it takes years and years to get good at this game. I mean, like any game, right? So you'll start playing Pop Warner, and then when you start playing for the school is when you start high school, which is 9th grade. So 9, 10, 11, 12 is high school in the United States. So... well, some places you'll play in middle school. You'll play for the middle school team. Most places you'll play for a little league club somewhere, but some middle schools have teams. So now let's just start with middle school. Let's say you're on a middle school team. You'll be on the team. You'll play. You do well. You don't do well. It doesn't really matter. Typically, you'll try out for the high school team, the freshman team. So most 9th graders will play on the freshman team, and they'll be learning the high school system and obviously getting acclimated to high school. But then you're there and you build some pride in the school you go to. And then, you interact with like the other students, the other athletes. So you end up going to watch each other's events and cheering each other on. So this helps build the pride, right? So let's say you're in high school, you're doing well. And not a lot of people from high school make it to college. Now, there's a lot of colleges in the United States. I mean, if we're talking about Division I think there's 114 or something like that. I'm not sure of the number.
Right.
But then there's Division II, there's Division III, there's the Ivy League, there's...
Are the divisions like 1, 2, and 3, is that because of region, or is that the skill level?
Well, it's about... honestly, I feel like it's about the money, right? How much money is put into a program, really. But no. Division I, Division II, Division III has all to do with the school. I think it's how they make their money. I think some of it has to do with state support financially. I'm not sure, but typically Division I are the high level schools that you hear about, like Alabama, LSU, Clemson, these big schools. Division II, you don't really hear much about these schools. Division III, even less. But you still get some great players that come out of all of these places. Again, like the Ivy League. And then you have other leagues that people play in, right? So there's the Canadian Football League, which is a professional league.
Okay. I didn't know they play.
Yeah, but the game is a little different, but it's pretty much the same in terms of lining up an offense against a defense. And
What? There's different rules?
there are different
Canada?
rules. Yeah, so there's 12 people on the field
Instead of...
instead of 11.
Oh.
The field is wider. I'm not sure how many yards wider, but I know the American football field is 53 yards wide. The Canadian Football League, I think, is 10 more yards wide. I'm not sure.
Is that like because they got like so much space and less people? They're just showing off and saying like, yeah,
I guess.
we got more.
I guess.
We got
I
more
don't
land
know.
Than you guys.
Maybe. I don't know. But the end zones for American football is only 10 yards long.
Right.
For Canadian football, it's 20 yards long.
That'll make a difference.
It does. And then the wide receivers. Okay, so you know who the quarterback is, right? The guy who throws the ball. The guy he throws the ball to are the wide receivers. So in regular American football, they're allowed to go in motion, which is like side to side. They can move around. They just can't be going towards the line of scrimmage.
Before
the ball snapped.
Yeah.
Right.
That's what that's called, the snap.
The snap. It's called the snap, yeah. In Canadian football, you can have a bunch of guys running right at the line of scrimmage so when the ball is snapped, they're at full speed, about to run down your throat, right? So the game's a little different. Essentially, it's the same. You have to throw the ball, catch the ball, tackle. It's the same game.
So do they call it Canadian football?
They actually call it Canadian football. It's called the CFL, Canadian Football League.
Right.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
So anyway, so there's all these different leagues. There's Arena Football League, which is you're playing on a 50-yard field instead of a 100-yard field.
Right. Same number of players?
7. You have 7 players on the field now. And you're in like a little...
Like half court.
You're
half
in like...
court basketball.
No, it's not half court. It's a smaller field, but I mean the scoring is high, right? And it's like you're playing in a kitty litter box, right? So there's walls. You can get hit into the wall. You can get hit over the wall. It's absolutely nuts.
So like ice hockey.
It's like ice hockey. No, it's like ice hockey, but on a small field.
Right.
It's actually a lot of fun. A lot of fun. So all these players probably played Pop Warner, probably played in college at some point. Because you don't hear of guys going like straight from high school to the NFL.
It just doesn't happen.
It just doesn't happen. Your body hasn't matured enough. You haven't learned enough. Like you hear guys like Kobe Bryant that went straight to the NBA, LeBron James that went straight to the NBA from high school. That doesn't happen with football. So
is it the contact or you got to build the skill?
I mean, I just want you to think about how you were when you were. I mean, you get out of high school, you were 18 years old, 19 years old.
Yeah,
and then
17, I think.
Okay, 17. That's even better. Yeah. So you're 17, and now you're 21. I mean, 21 versus 17 going against these grown men that want to rip your head off, right?
Yeah.
So typically doesn't happen. So most of the guys, and not everybody, because there's some international players that don't go to college, but they play somewhere. I know there are some not little leagues, but there are some leagues that are not very big in Germany that they play. There's even guys that play rugby that come play in the NFL. So
a couple of Australian people went over. And
yeah,
right,
exactly. So because they've been running with the ball, tackling, and doing all these things
without all the
padding, right? We'll talk about that in a second. Oh man, but they played somewhere else for some years, and then you get to college. Now you mentioned scouting, right? So the NFL spends a ridiculous amount of money on scouting. Okay, they want to get the best people to play these roles on their team, so they pay their scouts a lot of money. Well, I shouldn't even say just one scout in particular. They have a lot of scouts that they dish out a lot of money to.
They're employees, right?
They're
employees.
Not like
freelancers.
No,
okay.
Like these are guys that work for this team. Hey, I got to go get a time on this guy. We're going to see how strong he is. We're going to see how agile he is.
So they'll have targets because I watched Blindside the other day.
Oh yeah, great
right?
movie.
So,
yeah, love it.
So like they send in, people sending in videos and cuts. So like they'll receive these tapes.
But not even that. Like what you got to understand these are high school kids trying to go play college football. The scouts from the NFL, they go find you. They watch game film and they say, oh, let me watch this game. Oh, I like this kid. Let me go down all the way to Las Cruces, New Mexico and meet him in person because he looks good on film, Oh, well, I'll watch a couple practices. And that's kind of how they grade you too, right? They grade your game film. They check everything. They check your Instagram. They check how many times you stay at your grandma's house a week. It's everything, right? because they want to know that they have a good person that they could count on, you know.
Not just good on the field, but
Exactly.
you're going to be at practice, you're going to be disciplined.
And you got to understand, man, NFL is king in the United States, right? So if you play with the NFL, everybody's like, this guy plays in the NFL. It can literally change your life, you know, and depending on how good you get and the platform you have, it could change your children's life, right? So let's just take LeBron James, because you understand basketball and LeBron. You know who LeBron James is.
I do.
He makes a lot of money playing basketball, right? But I think he makes more money with endorsements.
Right.
Right? So everybody wants to say, we got this good, clean-cut guy. He drinks Coca-Cola, right?
You're marketable, right?
You're marketable,
yeah.
Right? So they want to know that I know that this guy's going to do well on the field, but I can also sell his jersey. Because, I mean, if like Tom Brady, he's squeaky clean, right? He's the greatest winner of all time in the NFL. But he never gets in trouble, right? But you hear about other guys who were drinking and driving. Just recently there was a kid who was drinking and driving for the Las Vegas Raiders that was speeding.
He played for the Raiders.
He's playing for. Just recently.
It wasn't like drinking and driving for them.
Right. Sorry.
It's a different league.
Totally different league. But this kid. This was this year, okay? This kid he was a first-round draft pick, millionaire, making a bunch of money. But he was speeding and he ran in the back of somebody and killed him. Shit. So now his career's over. Basically, his life is over. He's going to be in prison, which is really unfortunate because the kid could play. But the Raiders cut him the next day, right? Because that's not the image that the Raiders want to put out, right? Oh, this is what we are. Like, we're driving drunk and we're killing people even though we're playing this game. So if you're marketable, you can make a lot more money.
So they really go deep, check you out, and think, okay, we're going to bring him on. We're going to invest a lot in his training. How can we recoup some of that off the field as well?
Because you become an investment. I mean, so let's say you have two guys on your team, two quarterbacks, okay? Because you understand the position. One guy, you drafted him, you paid him $3 million, you put a bunch of money into his learning and this and that, and another guy came in as a free agent. Meaning he didn't get drafted. You just liked his film and you said, hey, we're inviting you to camp, and he decides to sign with you and come to camp. And you give him $10,000 as a signing bonus. Who are you going to protect? Who are you going to put more time and energy into to do well? Probably the guy you gave $3 million to, right? You now are an investment. And it was crazy, too, because I remember I didn't get drafted. I got picked up after the draft by the Chicago Bears.
So this is after college, right?
Right, this is after college, right? So I finished my college season. I went and played in.
So what college? That was
New Mexico State University.
Okay.
Yeah.
So stay in college then, just so I understand.
Okay,
right?
got it. Yeah.
Like, how serious is college? Because how many people watch those games? 100,000.
So depending on the school you go to, right? Well, where I went to school, 30,000 people would probably fill our stadium.
That's like
it's a lot of
for school people,
right? It's a lot of people. But when you're talking about schools like Michigan, the Big House, they have 110,000 in attendance, right?
That was the one in Blindside.
Yeah,
I know about.
No, actually, no. The one in Blindside was not Michigan. It was Ole Miss.
Mississippi,
Ole Miss,
yeah. Sandra Bullock really liked that school.
Still, right? Like, and we're talking about there's a bunch of stadiums like this every Saturday playing college football, so people are watching.
And 100,000 people turning up.
People sell out stadiums all the time with these big schools, right?
I hung out at Clemson and went to heaps of games, and it was like 100,000 stadium.
Crazy.
And tailgating.
Oh yeah.
100,000 people. It's like a festival.
It is. Yes.
It's insane.
It's a lot of fun.
It's college football, man. It's like
So, and not only
there must be no one like so you go down the street when the game's on. There's no one. The whole town's in the stadium.
That's depending on the town that you live in. Like if you live in a legit college town, like College Station. Okay, this is where Texas A&M plays. College Station, man, everybody's at the game.
Wow.
Like nobody's doing anything else. You know, you go to Miami. And you're watching the NFL, like, not a lot of people might be at a Dolphins game because there's the heat, there's partying, there's all kinds of things to do, right? But you go to a legit college town with just the college is what makes the town, everybody is there.
So it's like they're following the team, but it's social as well, right?
Of course.
You're going to hang out with your friends, drink a bit, eat some quality American food.
Yeah. That's not quality, my friend, but yes, I get.
See, that's what we should say, like, just in case anyone's wondering, is like we try to put something that represents a guest, like a prop, and we could. I didn't. Besides this beautiful shirt,
which I appreciate,
we didn't have anything, so we went and got this like nice burger, which, I mean, that's a tasty looking burger there. which I think we'll put it back, but I think we want to see you. We want to see you sample that.
Maybe.
At some point.
Depends on how hungry I get, right?
There's a bathroom nearby. It's okay.
I appreciate that. I might need it. So college. There's everybody watching, right?
So, but are they nutrition? Are they watching what you eat? Are you...
Well, it depends on the school you go to, right? So if they are making money, if they have the money, disposable income to give you or to spend on the program, because people will have boosters, right? People that support the school. Like if you go to Clemson, like he mentioned, they probably have an eating hall just for the football players, right?
Wow.
Yeah, they have training facilities just for the football players, right? But where I went to school, our food was terrible. I mean, we ate in the basic dining hall for all the students, and I mean, it wasn't great food. It was terrible. So depending on the school you go to, yes, they tell you about nutrition. They give you supplements. It's a big deal.
They have gyms dedicated for the team.
Oh yeah, just like the team. And we had a gym like that too, where it was dedicated just for the scholarship athletes. So not just scholarship athletes, but the people that were playing sports, right? So if the golf team or girls basketball, men's basketball, it didn't matter. If you were an athlete for the school and you competed for the school, you could use this facility.
So the rest of the school probably looks up to the athletes and stuff like that?
A lot of times, yeah. Of times, yeah. Not always, but...
So were there, like, privileges that came along with your position?
When we say privileges, what do we mean?
Privileges? What was the advantages of being a good college football player?
I can't say that there was too much of that where I went to school, because we were just a little crappy school that, we weren't on TV. The people that watched us and loved us, they knew us, right? But... when you're watching Florida and Florida State and, Georgia and all these big schools play, like, oh, you know who these guys are. So, but I'll be honest, when it came to girls, yes, we got the first pick of the girls.
Okay.
Right? I had a really good senior season, so I would go down to this little burrito spot that I loved, and there was a guy that worked there, and he was like, oh, man, great game. And, I would, all right, how much do I owe you? He'd say, nah, man, it's on me today. So things like that were cool. But I promise you, those guys at the big schools, they got way more. They got way more stuff than we did. So yeah, it kind of mattered. But
they got burritos and quesadilla,
and probably a horchata too, man. And, probably a horchata too. But yeah. So after that, after college, right? Everybody wants to go to the NFL, right? Because now you get to play a game that you love, that you've been playing most of your life. And you get to make an exorbitant amount of money doing so. So
everyone in that team that's their goal, right? Like, there's not some people who'll be like, I don't know, man, I'm not feeling it. Do you know what? I'm gonna go travel, or I'm not gonna play football anymore.
There are some like that. Because and there's a couple factors, right? Some they really just want to get an education, right? They're just there. If there's a way to pay for it, cool. I can play football while I'm here and have fun. All good. There are some guys that. They're like, after this, I'm just done. I just don't want to play football. Whether they had a chance or not. That number is not very big. Those are a little more rare. But there are some people that are just like, I just don't want to go play after this, right? But the majority, they want to go to the next level, right? Because, come on, you want the perks, you want the money, depending on who you are and where you go, like the fame and legacy, right? What's important to you.
And in your time, what are we talking about in terms of what year? Like 1980s?
Wow, I was born in the 70s, man. 79, in fact. Calm down over there, Paul. Not that old.
What? When are we talking? When you got drafted? Or you didn't get drafted?
I didn't get drafted. So when I came out, it was 2002.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, I came out in 2002. Funny enough, man. So I was a fast guy. Okay, I was a 4.31 guy, which is how fast do you run the 40 yards, right?
Okay.
I also ran track in college as well, right? So as a freshman in college, I'm the 200 meter record holder actually at New Mexico State. 20.68 in the 200 meters. I'm 18 years. No, actually I'm 19. I'm not even at my peak of athletic prowess yet, right? But I ran track. I was a fast guy, and then playing football, I was fast. I wasn't always the fastest guy out in the field, but a lot of times I was. And I just, I liked being physical and playing football. So I wanted to go play football. I wanted to keep going and go as far as I could go and see. But you kind of got to gauge, like, am I playing well in college? Do I have a chance?
What's the backup plan in case I don't make
exactly, it? Right? So, most of us get our degree and finish our degree. I actually didn't finish my degree when I left college. I had never failed a class. I think I had like a 3.4 GPA or something like that. 2-sport athlete. But I changed majors, so I didn't, get enough credits required to get a degree. I ended up getting my degree after I was done playing. And then now I have a master's degree as well.
So you kind of had to make it, or you would have been all right if you didn't?
Well, in my mind, I felt like I had to.
Right.
That's just kind of how my mindset's always been. Like, I'm always in, like I'm all in or I'm all out. Like, it's not, there's no halfway. Because and you're a jiu-jitsu guy, right? If you're going to go for this move, like, you got to commit to it, or you're never going to get it. So that's kind of how I live my life, right? We're going to be all in or we're not. Mm-hmm. So for me, I was just like, I'm going to play football. In fact, I met my wife when I was 18. We didn't get together right away. We got together years later. But when I first met her, I told her, I'm going to go play in the NFL one day. I'm 18 years old, right? And she's like, right, sure, kid, okay, Because she's a little older than I am. So she's just like, whatever. And, I always knew. For me, it was like, I got to make it this way, And again, I made it to the league. I didn't make it in the league. I didn't play a lot at all. I bounced around from team to team. But the experience was great. It was great.
So there's draft, right? So draft is like all these scouts, all these teams that know about him. And
right.
they like, we really like this guy. We're going to try get him. And
right.
People have first pick, second pick, or whatever.
Exactly, yeah.
If you don't get not bought, is it bought? Would you get bought?
You don't get drafted. Yeah.
Then what was your path?
Okay, so then there's free agency, right? Where they say, okay, well, we're not going to draft you, but we still want to sign you. So when you're a free agent, you get to pick and go whatever team you want to go to. So I'd actually got a couple calls after the draft. The team that I chose to go to was the Chicago Bears. I ended up getting cut after camp, but that was my path, right? So I get there, I go to free agency, Chicago calls. I think, who else called?
Oh, so they're not paying you at that point?
At that point, you're not paid yet, right? So they say, do you want to come here? I say yes or no. Then they send you a contract, right? And you'll get paid a signing bonus if they see fit. But more than anything, you get the opportunity to make a football team. Right. So, and it was crazy, man. I was mentioning about being an asset, right? So I had signed with the Chicago Bears. And then I remember I was outside, a couple of weeks after that. It was the week before we were going to go to OTAs. So OTAs is organized team activities. And they're typically voluntary. Some guys have it in their contract that you have to go. You get paid a little extra money, whatever. But it was the week before OTAs. And this will be the first time we're with our professional team, right? And I'm playing with my daughter and we're playing soccer. We're kicking the ball around. I step on the ball, twist my ankle badly, right? So I call my agent and I'm like, hey, man, I twisted my ankle, and the reason why they even picked me up was because I could run. I was a fast guy. Like I told you, I was almost world-class speed. And I'm like, man, I don't know. I just don't know how this is going to go. He says, Tony, man, you can't be playing with your kids, man.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what? I can't play with my kids. Maybe I don't want to play in the NFL, right? Because they see you as an asset, right? So that was my first inkling that I don't know if this is really what I want to do. I was just so I guess in my mind I just wanted to go play a game that I love and the prestige you have, right? That was a factor. It wasn't the main factor, but you can make a lot of money. But more than anything, you get to play this game that you loved as a kid. You just get to keep playing it, right? So, but yeah, you turn into an asset and you're just like, man, this is not. And you learn it's a business, because you have certain amount of roster spots. And you could. So the position I played, the quarterback, yes,
right.
The guy he throws the ball to is the wide receiver.
Oh, that's what you would play.
I guard him on defense.
Okay.
So I'm a little fast guy. Like, I mean, you look at me, I'm not that big, right? I'm walking around Asia. Everybody thinks I'm big like Godzilla, right? No. Trust me when I tell you.
Not on the football field.
I am the smallest guy on the field almost every time.
Right.
Okay, like no joke. So, it's one of those deals where I'm trying to go and make it, and you know what I mean. But I just didn't like the idea of having to give up things, right? So I play corner. If I have a game-winning interception where the quarterback throws the ball and I get it instead of the receiver getting it, and I had a bunch of tackles and I had a great game.
So you're defensive
right. Back.
Okay,
right.
so the other team's got the ball. Quarterbacks, they snap.
Yeah.
The quarterback goes like, they always do this.
Yeah. Look around. Yeah.
And he throws it. He's throwing it to his mate, who's the receiver.
Exactly.
And you're trying to either intercept that or smash that dude.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly right.
Got
So
it.
I could have a game-winning interception, bunch of tackles, play a great game. But because I'm not making as much money, I'm not as important to the team, like I could get cut because they need my roster spot. So let's say the quarterback got hurt. Well, they're not going to cut the quarterback. They're going to let him heal up in 3 weeks, but they got to bring in another quarterback. But they need a roster spot. So, okay, we're going to cut this corner who's not that important.
So there's a limit to the number of people that can be rostered in any team.
Right. It's about 1,600 jobs a year in the NFL, right? So, I mean, half of those are already taken for guys that play, long years. You know what I mean? So, and every year you have a new crop of athletes. Every year. From not just Division 1, 2, and 3, but Ivy League, from Arena League, from the Canadian League, from, rugby leagues. All these people trying to get into this league. So, it's super competitive, super cutthroat. Very, very difficult to stay.
Right.
So those guys that play, 5, 6, 7 years, and guys like Tom Brady who's been playing 20 years, I mean, that's unheard of.
Right.
So you'll hear from guys that play in the NFL, they'll tell you NFL stands for not for long.
So what was your weight? What was your playing weight then?
Oh my gosh. Okay. I don't know what it is in kilos, but I could tell you there was a time I was playing at 199.
Okay, so big but not huge.
Yeah,
right?
there was a time I was playing at 194. Another time I was 188.
And how big were the other people in your position?
About the same size as me. Sometimes guys were a little taller, but a little skinnier, and then sometimes there were guys that were shorter. And there's a lot of different sizes that play the position. You would never guess, right? So going into the locker room my first time, I'm thinking everybody in this locker room is gonna have rocked up bodies, and man, there was this guy. He was an all-star. I don't remember his name. He was an all-star. He had won a Super Bowl. Like, the guy was good. Man, he had the biggest belly I had ever seen for a defensive back. I'm like, how do you play defensive back, man? There's no way. And this guy could play. I mean, he was good. And I'm just thinking everybody's going to have these amazing bodies. No, sir.
He had a nice low center of gravity and a bit of padding.
Oh, yeah, well, that helps, right? But it just, you would think that these guys were all super in shape and, and it's crazy, man. Like, I've been places you'll never believe this, where like guys will go in from the halftime, and they'll go into the locker room and they'll smoke a cigarette.
Really?
Yeah, I've been places, where they do that.
In pro level, NFL?
Yeah, not in the NFL, but
okay, college.
But I played in the Arena League, like I told you, right?
Okay.
And I mean, it's crazy. Like,
yeah, right.
I mean, guys would smoke before games. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'll tell you about a guy. I won't tell you his name, but he would smoke before a game and go run for 300 yards. I mean, bunch of touchdowns and just tear the field up, right? And he smoked before the game. I'm like, how the hell do you do that? So yeah, you'd be surprised, man. You'd be surprised.
Okay, so then you go, you do this sort of like train on squad type of thing with the Bears.
Right. So you have this training camp, right? So they allow more numbers in for training camp than just a roster spot. So what happens is you start camp, maybe you got 100 guys, and I'm not sure if that's the number, but and by this time you have to have 75 guys, and then by this time you have to have 60 guys, and then by the time this week before the season's about to start, you got to have 53.
How many people competing for your spot? And do you know your position? Like, or are they considering you? Oh, Tony might be good in this spot or this position or this position.
So to answer that last question, yes. Like if they like you, they'll consider you for another spot that that's kind of close to what you play. So there's corners and safeties in the defensive backfield, right? I play corner, and then there's safeties. You could have those guys. They kind of do the same thing, backpedal and run and turn and break on the football, but safeties do a little bit more tackling, right? So if you're a good tackler, they might consider you to play another position. But typically, if you're a corner, you're going to play corner. Corners will move to safety as they get older and not as agile. But sometimes they'll consider you for another position.
Because the quarterback's always looking for those corners.
Always looking to throw the ball somewhere.
He's rarely throwing it straight down the middle.
Well, actually, that's where they throw it.
Right.
That's where they want to throw it.
Okay.
It's straight down the middle. It's an easier throw. But, if they can throw the ball outside over your head, it's easy, right? It's not in the middle of the defense. It's one guy against one guy in the sideline. So if they miss, no chance of an interception. But you asked another question. How many guys? How many guys?
Yeah, how many people are going for your spot?
So going into camp, I think they typically keep like 6 corners, depending on the team, right? It's 5 or 6 corners on a team. But you're going into camp, man, you're competing with 12 to 15 guys.
Right.
Easily.
Okay.
You know what I mean? And that's just corners. And then there's safeties as well, right? And typically they keep about the same number.
Okay.
And man, it's hard to stay, man. It's difficult. You can play well. You can actually play really good football and still end up getting cut. Yeah.
And then, so didn't make it with the Bears.
Yeah, so I ended up getting cut by the Bears. Later in the season, I ended up going to the Oakland Raiders.
So you moved and living in Chicago,
Well, it was just me, right? So at the time, my wife and my daughter lived in Las Cruces, New Mexico, where the school was. And, because I wasn't highly drafted and I was making a bunch of money, it was kind of like, hey, I'm going to go do my thing and try to make this team. And when I do, I'll bring you guys. But I didn't make that team. So I ended up going to Oakland like mid-year. And because it was mid-year, I had a stepdaughter at the time. My stepdaughter was going to school. And it's just kind of difficult to be moving a family when, like, my job is unstable, right?
Right.
So it's not smart to move them around. So I went to Oakland on my own. We ended up going to the Super Bowl that year, the final.
Wow.
We got spanked by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
So you made it, right?
Yeah.
So how does it go from another train-on squad and they liked what they saw?
Well, so you get to the team, you're practicing with the team, and you might play, you might not, depending on how much they like you or don't like you, how well you're playing. And we're talking about a difference of like the high level guys that make a bunch of money and the lower level guys who don't make as much money. I was one of the lower level guys, right? So I was one of those guys who pretty much every year I'm signing a new deal. These other guys, like, let's just say Tom Brady, he's probably the best guy in the league. I mean, they're paying him $22 million. He knows what he's making. He's not worried about anything. Yeah. So I'm there. Through the Super Bowl, we lose. They say, hey, we want you to sign a contract, but we're going to send you to NFL Europe. So I go play in NFL Europe in the spring, which is American football. It's like Americans, Major League Baseball, right? Well, we have something called the Farm League, where it's AA baseball, AAA baseball. So it's like the MLB, I think it's AAA, AA, single A, right? So these guys are just working, getting better so they can go play what they call the show. So the NFL Europe League was probably the closest thing I could say to like the farm teams for baseball. Does that make sense? So, and a team can allocate you, meaning, so I signed with the Raiders. They send me over there to play some games and get better, and then I come back the following camp.
Okay, so they did that to give you more pitch time.
Right, exactly.
Developed your skills and craft.
Exactly. But you got to keep in mind, like every year there's a draft. So while I'm in Europe playing football, they draft a corner.
They're looking at some new young bloke.
Exactly, right? And even and let's say I was a guy who was making a bunch of money, right? And I'm playing really well. But then there's like a new corner that comes in out of college and he's bigger, stronger, faster, understands the game better. Well, guess what? He's a better asset than I am because he's younger.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Oh, guess what? He's going to cost us less money.
And we don't have to fly him back from Europe. We'll just cut him and leave him there.
Right. So, well, hopefully I don't ever do that to somebody. But no, it's you now become an asset, and it's a business, and it can be really ugly sometimes. But overall, man, I think I'm glad I got the experience.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah, it was really cool.
So, was your dad like so happy when you signed for his team?
Oh man, it was crazy, right? So I ended up going to Oakland, and then we're playing in Miami, right? And at this point, my father lives in Korea, right? So in this random times I get a call from my father, just because of the time difference, and we had just had bed check, right? And there's a wide receiver named Fred Biletnikoff. He's a Hall of Fame wide receiver, one of the great all-time Raider greats, right? My father used to watch him as a kid, and he was one of the coaches, right? So Freddie B, we call him Freddie B. His name is Fred Biletnikoff. We call him Freddie B. So Freddie B comes and does bed check. This is the first time I'm meeting this Hall of Fame guy because at practice, like, corners don't talk to the coaches. I talk to my corner coach. You know what I mean?
Oh, right.
Yeah. So Freddie B comes and does bed check, and I'm like, oh man, it's Freddie B. He's, hey, I'm Fred Biletnikoff. Nice to meet you. Just like he's a regular dude, right? And I'm like, this is really cool. So as soon as Freddie B leaves the room, my father calls me. He's like, hey son, like how are things going? And I'm like, yo, Dad, you'll never guess who I just talked. And Freddie B just came in, like this is cool. So the experience was great, right? It was super awesome. But I was brainwashed by my father, right? So I loved being there. And then we were winning, right? We went to the Super Bowl, and it was.
So how many seasons you play for?
So I was in Oakland.
Raiders?
I was there 2002. I went to camp in 2003. After I left there, I went to Seattle Seahawks in 2004.
Mm-hmm.
And then after the Seahawks, I was done playing in the league. I ended up going to play in the Arena League, and I was there. I was playing arena football till about 2009.
Okay.
Yeah. So, I mean, I've had a career. I've had a better career than a lot of people have had. I've had a career that a lot of people would want, but you always want to have more. You always want to be better.
But so, your career is kind of like 7 to 9.
So 02 to 09. Yeah, 02 to 09. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I wasn't, and again, I didn't make the big contracts, right? So I was always fighting for my life, right? And it's stressful, right? Because, this is how you feed your family.
Yeah.
I don't know if I even had a regular job, like a real. No, I did. I actually had a regular job before I made it to NFL.
What was that?
Man, I was selling sneakers, man.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it was cool.
What, like door to door?
Oh heck no. No, Foot Locker. Actually, this store was called Foot Action, right?
Yeah, right.
So you've heard of Foot Locker, the store Foot Locker.
Yes.
I think one of them owns the other. I'm not sure. But basically, I'm working in the store selling shoes and shoe cleaner and, shirts and stuff. So, but I was in college, and I had a child in college. So,
right.
I had to go to school, had to play football, and I had to make some money to take care of my baby. Man, when she was born, that was rough, brother.
How old are you?
At the time, when she was born, I was 21, about to turn 22.
And still at college?
Still in college.
Too many perks of college.
Oh my gosh, man. Let me tell you one great perk, okay? So I would stay up at night with my daughter, right? Because she was a monster as a baby. She didn't want to sleep, right? So I would stay up and hold her and, feed her. And whenever she was ready to go back to sleep, I put her back in the crib. But oftentimes, this little monster didn't want to go to sleep. And the way I got my rest was at the end of the week when we would travel for games, right? So we'll travel, get on planes and go play in another city. Man, I would sleep on the plane.
That was your recovery.
That was my recovery, right? I mean, there was like Friday night, we'll get a snack before we go to bed, right? I mean, I was in the bed, burnt out, and I told my roommate, "Hey man, just bring me a snack. I'm not going down there to get the snack. I'm sleeping." So that was a perk for me, man. I got to sleep on the plane. I got to sleep in the hotel, and I was ready to go Saturday, right when it's time to play, and then start all over next week. But
it must be, like a lot of pressure. Like if you're young, like you're not making those big dollars yet. You've committed yourself to, okay, this is what I'm going to do. Like this is going to be my job.
Yeah.
And you got a little daughter that you
it's a lot of pressure. I mean, In fact, a lot of people buckle under it because, this is your livelihood. This is how you feed your family. This is how you, if your daughter gets sick, what happens? What do? Do you have money to take care of it? And you can get cut at any time. You know what I mean? You could have a couple bad plays in a game that lose you the game, and they're going to cut you.
That brutal, like you don't get another try sort of thing.
Yeah, I mean, especially like a guy like me who didn't, get a signing bonus of a few $1 million, right? Like, I mean, they'll do that to some of those guys, but they'll give them chance after chance because they're an investment. They'd invested millions of dollars into this person. But somebody like me who was, was a free agent, I didn't make a lot of money. Oh man, if this guy isn't playing good, we get rid of him, no problem. Right. So it was difficult, and and I was a white guy playing amongst like all black guys, right? So, we'll be in a meeting room, and they're calling each other the N-word, and I'm just like, okay,
I don't know what I should do.
and then like, so white people, they'll call them crackers, right? They'll say, oh man, this cracker could run, or this cracker, and I'm like, hey man, can y'all? I'm white, can we not use the word cracker?
It's like derogatory.
No, it is exactly right. So
were the coaches talking like that as well? Or
man, usually a black guy was the coach too, right? So he didn't care if they said it. So I'm literally the only white guy in the room, and I'm like, hey man, can we not use the word cracker? Like, come on, man. And the personality dynamic wasn't always awesome because of that. Because I'm just not the guy to keep my mouth shut, man. I'm just not the guy to just be like, whatever, it's no big. Hey, man, like, you want me to respect you? Like, respect me. Shut up. And when you're rocking the boat a little bit, sometimes they don't like that. So, I mean, it is what it is.
And is there like, within like any professional level athletes, like, they're passionate people, right? Like, and there's like fire in the belly.
Yeah.
So like, there's gonna be times where everyone's like, everything's going smooth and everyone loves each other. It's the team, and then there's sometimes people gonna clash.
For sure,
you see that
happens often. I mean,
because a lot of I feel like there's a lot of ego in that sport.
Oh man, that's all ego. So it's literally, you can't play that game if you don't have some ego. I mean, if I'm being honest, I feel like there's 22 narcissists on the field at one time, right?
But but you need ego to exceed to a certain to be a certain standard,
everybody.
Right?
Like,
but you speak of Tom Brady, like he kind of seems like wholesome, right? Like so, like he would have ego, but then you see a lot of other people where they're like sort of. There's gold chains on the necks. They're driving around in convertibles, and they want to be seen in that way. It's that type of ego, right?
So there's healthy ego, like Tom Brady has. There's a lot of players that have healthy ego, right? That are humble guys, but they're like, no, we're winning this game, right? But then there are guys with unhealthy ego, right? And I think that's the majority of the guys, right? Because honestly, man, I feel like you might have to be a little bit sadistic to play football. You got to be able to want to hit people, and you gotta be a little sociopathic, if you will, So a lot of those guys that are really good, some of them are, and there's some that are not, But for the most part, you got your ego has to be at a certain level. Some guys, it's too much, and again, they're doing too much, and it can be destructive. But I mean, again, you have a bunch of alphas on the field, trying to assert their dominance, right? So
things are gonna happen.
Things are going to happen. You understand this, yeah.
So what things happen? Like, does it get heated?
Oh, man. So much, man. I mean, from, like, maybe somebody, put their hand in your face and pushed your neck a certain way, and, or maybe you got blocked and you got, knocked on your butt, and somebody will talk trash to you. Oh, I got to get that guy back. You know what I mean? So, man, I've heard that.
In training, you mean in training?
Games, too.
But how does your own player... get you in the game, sort of thing?
Well, your own player. So if it happens at practice, you're going against your own team, obviously. Right. But you're competitive. You're competing.
I'm sorry. You mean like on the pitch? Like you got to get back.
You get into it. Some people get into it with each other, with the team, right? Like
that's what I meant. Like in the dressing room, is there much like?
Sometimes, I'm not gonna say all the time, but sometimes there are like. We'll have scrimmages, which is like a simulated game situation where because typically at the higher levels, you don't actually tackle people to the ground. It's dangerous. People get hurt more often, so they don't do it a lot. So we have this tempo, right? We'll call like thud, right? Where you hit them, but don't take them to the ground.
Okay.
And then like the next level will be full go to the ground live. We call it live, right? So maybe it's thud, but somebody got hit and he fell on the ground because he got hit. Even though the guy wasn't trying to tackle him, he was just trying to thud him up, right? So the guy who got knocked on the ground will get mad. You know, it actually happened. I got in a situation like that one time. And it was crazy. I was playing in NFL Europe for the Rhine Fire, and it was defense's turn because you'll play offense, you'll play defense. So the offense will work their offense against a simulated defense that the defense will simulate, the other team's defense. Mm-hmm. And then when it's defense's turn, we'll switch. They'll run the other team's offense, and we'll play against it, right? Just to get ready for the games. So this particular day was third down goal line, which is short yardage, where they only have a few yards, 2 or 3 yards to get a first down or to score. So we have to be a little more stiff, right? But we're just doing thud. So this running back, he gets the ball, he runs. He's trying to run into the end zone, but I thud him up, and he doesn't get in the end zone. And then he gets mad and throws the ball at me. And I'm like, man, what's wrong with you? It's not only is it thud, it's defense. You know what I mean? So you're damn right I'm not going to let you into this goal line.
Oh, it was your time to practice.
It was our time to
practice.
Yeah. So you're damn right you're not getting into this goal line, right? So he throws the ball at me, then he kind of comes at me. We end up scrapping on the field. And it's media day, okay? Like, we had we probably had 1,000 people at practice watching practice, right?
And this is Raiders?
No, this is the Rhine Fire in Germany.
Okay.
When I was playing in NFL Europe. And we get in a fight in front of all the people. Like, it was terrible. And I didn't start it. I was like, you better chill, right? But then he comes at me, and then when you do that, like, I'm sorry, it's going down. But it was crazy. I mean, like, you get mad at me because I didn't let you. And he was one of those guys, really cocky, look at me. And I was just playing football. I'm just, trying to do what I'm supposed to do for practice. Mm. And we ended up getting into it. He apologized later, and
that's good.
Which was good because you don't need to have that tension on your football team. But it happens, man.
And he was probably just playing for his spot as well, right? He's probably pissed off at him more than you.
Well, at this point, I mean, nobody was going anywhere. I mean, we had a couple games, we had a few games left, and I mean, I don't know what it was. I don't know. And again, I don't know what he was dealing with. I mean, all our families are back in the U.S. Mm. We don't see our. If we have kids, we don't see our kids. If we have wives and girlfriends, we don't see them, and it can get a little stressful. So, I don't blame him for it, but like, look, I'm not a killer, but don't push me, okay? Yeah. So, but it happens all the time, man.
So then, how many people watching this stuff in Europe? Are people interested?
Yeah, they love them. The league is gone now. But I mean,
did they do it like for development and try to?
Well, they did it to try to develop the sport in Europe, right? To try to get more people to watch it, and obviously soccer's worldwide, right? So you make more money if it's worldwide, not just one country,
So it was an initiative of the NFL.
Yeah, right. to try to expand.
I think they might have done that and brought a team to a game to Australia at one point.
I'm sure they did. Like they do it in Mexico, they do it in the UK. Uh-huh. So yeah, they play all over the world to try to expand it.
And they're still doing that now.
I know there was a game in London.
Right.
This year, I know there was. Okay. I know there was one last year. The Raiders played in it last year in Mexico. Right. So. I don't know to the extent, but I think they are still trying to expand it. But, that's what the, NFL Europe was about. And then it was a bit of a developmental league for those guys trying to play in the NFL.
So how many people watch those games? A bit less.
Quite a bit, I think. I mean,
5,000, 10,000.
Well, when we played in Europe, we had 50,000 people at a game.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's not 100 like in an NFL game, or 70 or 80, depending on how big your stadium is. But 50,000 people. I think we averaged 40,000 at our games.
And were they like? You think it was like hardcore fans, like the same ones each week in, week out, or do you think it's like people like
these people
let's
are
try watching
hardcore?
That. Oh yeah.
Okay, they were hardcore. I'm talking like if you ever watch an NFL game, you see the Raiders play or certain teams play. You see guys all up in costumes and masks, and you see all the craziness. That's how these guys were.
Right.
And it was really cool.
Did they sing songs? Like, because I've been to a few football games. I used to live in London.
Yeah.
And I was very lucky. I could get four tickets to go see Tottenham Hotspur whenever I wanted. And, like, the atmosphere, I've never felt atmosphere like that.
Yeah, yeah. The
Like,
energy at ball games are crazy.
But
Yeah.
was it different in Europe?
It was different and it wasn't different.
Mm.
Okay, because we would play in these. So when we were in Germany, we played in this soccer team's stadium called Schalke. Okay,
FC Schalke.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the stadium was huge. Okay, we're talking like high tech stadium. They roll the green in and out. You know, the top would open and close. So they put a lot of money into Schalke, obviously, and we used their facilities, which was cool. But the people that enjoyed football, they were just as wild as. So we actually went to watch a soccer game at Schalke one year when I was playing in Europe, and it was nuts. I was
It's
like,
amazing,
what?
huh? Yeah.
You know, this feels like an NFL game back in the States. But the small and the 50,000 people in this stadium, it was tiny. It looked like nobody was there.
Because the stadium's so
Stadium's
big.
so big, right?
Yeah.
But when we went to go watch soccer, I mean, it was full, it was loud, it was crazy. I was like, this feels like the NFL back home.
And like when the crowd all sings,
Oh gosh,
it's amazing, huh?
it's so cool.
Yeah.
It's the coolest thing.
I used to always go with my friend who he wasn't militant, because obviously like in English football there's hooliganism, right?
Right.
Like and it's very. I knew a guy and he was kind of into it, right?
The hooliganism,
Yeah,
or
yeah.
okay, tell me more.
And so he and when I was there, I first went there in '98 for 2 years, and then I went back there in 2004, I think, for another 6. And I can't remember how I met this guy, but he was like into the hooliganism aspect, right?
Yeah.
And it wasn't. It had calmed down. So I think like 80s and early 90s.
Mhm.
I think it was far more prevalent. Like it's not like you'd take your kid maybe. I don't- But he said it was quite like almost gentlemanly and organised. Like so they'd have communication beforehand.
Yeah.
And they'd be like, okay, like, all right, well, bats but no knives. And like, so there was these sort of like pre-organised
gosh,
rules,
yeah.
and they'd meet at a certain place, and he was like a little bit, it's not like, that's not how it used to be. You could see that he was like reminiscing when he was telling the stories.
The good old days, right?
And he said like they, because they travel in groups.
Yeah.
And I've been like on the tube when there's like a group, like you can feel the tension on match day.
It almost sounds like gang violence to me. Man.
It is a bit,
Yeah.
like it's very tribalism, and like they'd even have like they'd send younger kids out in front of the group.
Yeah.
So like they'd be like either in the street or in the train station, and scouts would sort of go out, and then they sort of like look around in the corner and no, it's cool. There's no one there, sort of thing, or there's people there.
Yeah.
It's like when the first time I went to a game, I was like amazed, right? So I went with this guy Lee, right? So he would, like I said, he was not militant, but he was like very passionate. You can say, right? Like
the fine line, right?
He knew all the songs, like, and so we'll go there together, right? So there's 4 of us, and you could just see him change because we hadn't been, right? So we get off at the station where we're going to get to, closest to the ground, and you just see it sort of come over him, right?
Yeah.
And you just see all these other sort of people, and they're all walking in the street, and like back then it was okay if you wore another team's shirt, but you couldn't go into the wrong pub.
Got it.
If you went in the wrong pub, there'd be trouble.
Got it, yeah.
Like straight up.
Yeah.
But so we were watching Tottenham play Newcastle, and there was Newcastle supporters across the other side of the street.
Yeah.
And so this guy, my friend Lee, just runs up to the guy like who's selling stuff, like, and he buys 2 flags, and he just puts them up in the air, and he's just like starts walking down the street and like singing a song and like pointing like that at him like that, and then like 20 people, 100 people, like, and then the street is just like chanting at these people, and it's like full on.
That's
like before Braveheart,
that sounds scary. If you're the other team, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah, like and like you just feel like the energy, but you feel like the tension.
Yeah.
And then like there's police cars everywhere, like in the vans, and they've got like these grates over the front of the windscreens because obviously it kicks off. The horses are there. The horses have got like little perspex sunnies.
Yeah.
Just, I don't know,
Cover
in case
their
somebody
eyes,
I don't know maces the horse or what.
Yeah.
But like there's like a level of tension, and I don't know what it's like in the NFL stadium, but you can't mix the supporters, so there'll be like, so when say Schalke at that pitch, right?
Yeah.
If that's a stadium, they'll have like an away area.
Yeah,
and it's
yeah.
like a slither.
Yeah.
But there's like 20 vacant rows in between because you can't mix them in.
Well, it's not so bad in the NFL, right? So you can still go to the game and enjoy the game. There's going to be some trash talking. There's going to be some friendly trash talking. There's going to be some not so friendly trash talking. A few times, you'll hear about people getting in fights in games. I'm all over the country. I guarantee you somebody's getting in a fight at every game. Like it's not 20, 30, 100 people. It's not that. I think it's more like that with college than it is in the pros. Right. But man, there are people that get into it though. I mean,
so the fans are mixed in, right? So
yeah,
if
fans
I get
are
to a
mixed in.
game, like I might be a mad Raiders supporter. I could be sat next to the other.
Exactly.
Okay, so it's not that
It's not.
intense
It's
for
not
violence.
not for violence, right? I'm not saying it doesn't happen because it does. In fact, I'll tell you. I remember we were playing the Jets for a playoff game when I was with the Raiders, and there was a guy wearing a white and green Jets jersey because their colors are white and green, and we're black and silver and black. And you see this white jersey, like this white dot. It was like a cotton ball in like a bucket of oil. Like you could pick it out right away, right? And I saw him in the first half, and I didn't see him in the second half, right? So in my mind, I'm like, what happened to that dude with the Jets jersey? They was, let's go back to it, But it happens, but it's not quite like gang violence like you're talking about, Well, where the Michael Jackson video, let's all meet up and fight right now. It's not like that, right? Yeah. But yeah, it gets a little crazy. Now, in Oakland, now the Raiders are in Las Vegas, right? But in Oakland, it was called the Black Hole, right? So, and like the Raiders fans were known for being crazy and wild, and like you run your mouth a little bit too much in the stands, like you're getting roughed up. Oakland's a rough city, right?
Is it known, because you were saying like most of the team was black, like
right.
Was that known of Oakland Raiders at the time? Because NWA used to wear Raiders
no,
caps,
yeah, well,
right?
that's just because they're California and the Raiders are black, right? So the NWA just like to wear black colors.
Okay.
Not to mention the Raiders used to be in LA, right?
Okay. So
it might be that they're doing it because they're fans because when they were in LA, but I think it's because the color black. That silver and black are the Raiders colors, right. So that's why I think.
Right.
But it's not, the violence isn't crazy like that. I mean, there could be some, but it's not. There's not,
It's not organized and
not like you're speaking of.
Yeah.
No, it's not like that.
Yeah, because it's pretty crazy in Europe. And that.
Yeah, no, I get it. And the Raiders were considered like one of the worst for like fan violence. You know what I mean? So, and it's not often. It didn't happen often. It wasn't too crazy.
Right.
So, I mean, I know we Americans are a little crazy, a little out there sometimes, but we didn't,
Just not as organized.
You know what? I think you have given me a new perspective. We need to get organized, man.
Yeah, do it properly.
Yeah, do it properly.
How's the fans like? Because when I first went to UK, like there's cultural differences everywhere, right? Like even I could speak the language, I could have looked like an English person. Just I'm not unusual in the street.
Right.
But there's obviously like little things and big things. Like people there, they go, "You're right." Like that's like saying, "How are you?" or "How you doing?" Like the first day I went to work, this guy's like, "You're right, Paul." I'm like,
Don't I look all right? Yeah.
Like, yeah, I'm all right. Are
Yeah.
you all right?
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, I'm good. I was like, okay. Like, and then someone else says like, this is
the
how
thing.
you say hello.
Yeah, this is the thing.
But,
yeah.
Like, But what I noticed was like people like loved football so much.
Yes.
Like they would spend like, you know, like not people that have a lot of income that can be spent on other things. They'd have a season ticket, which was very expensive, and they'd have one for their little boy. They would find that money and they would have that ticket.
Yeah.
And they would, if their team lost on the weekend,
It was the end of the world.
yeah, it would be Wednesday before they were like,
Okay,
over
again, right?
that. Yeah,
Right, yeah. That's because they got to get ready for the next game on Sunday, right?
yeah, they're preparing as well.
Yeah, man, we love our football, man.
Is it like that in America?
Yeah, it's like that.
Right.
We love our football.
Like
I mean,
you
we
find the money to go to the game somehow.
yeah, if you want to go, yeah. I mean, and if not, like you'll find a way to watch it. You know what I mean? So football is readily available anywhere in the U.S. I mean, you go to your buddy's house, you can go to a bar and watch it. You can, I mean, you could be shopping at Target and they might have the game on, you know, and you can see it on the TV somewhere, right? Because like they sell TVs or something.
Oh,
you
then
know
that's
what I
going to
mean?
be on.
The game is going to be on the TV, you know.
Yeah.
So, man, we love our football, man. We're a little nuts about it. We got fantasy leagues. Of course, people bet on football, but it's America. You know, they say baseball is America's pastime, right? But football is America's sport, man.
That's what I was going to ask. How does it rank in popularity? Like, there's the three main sports, right?
Yeah.
Basketball, baseball, and
Football is number one.
Is it?
Number one. Basketball is number two,
Okay.
and then baseball.
Right.
Yeah, it's because if you look at the stadiums, right? So more people could fit into a football stadium, but if you think about the ratio of it, how much of it is not sold out, right? Because I mean, basketball stadium, what if there's only like 20,000 people or 30,000 people? Like you can't fit 100,000 people for a basketball game unless you're playing it in a football stadium, which they've done before.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, but you know they just move the floor in and you know they play a game there. But if you look at the ratio of like games that are sold out versus not sold out, the NFL is by far more sold out than any other sport. You know, and then basketball they play 82 games, so people feel like they have more opportunity to watch a game, so maybe they won't go.
How many are you playing then in the NFL this season?
In the NFL, you play 4 preseason, which you know. Everybody gets to play. They're trying to see who's going to play. So, like the starters, the first 22 guys will play, and then they might play a couple series, like 1 or 2 series. And the next game they'll play a little more. The third game they won't play at all.
But for fans, like how many? So when you say like 80-something games for basketball,
right. So the first 4 are preseason games, which they don't really count. Like you won't get to see the stars play very much. And then you have 16 regular season games.
Okay. Oh,
Right.
Only 16.
Yeah, so because you play 1 a week, right? I mean, in the NBA, you might play 3 to 4 games in a week, right?
Right.
So you play 16 games and then playoff, right? So you could end up playing if you go to the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Okay. So before you even make it to the playoffs, that's 20 games you've played in, and then let's just say you have to play every game, like you don't have a bye week or anything. You'll play 3 games before you even get to the final. So if you play in the final, you'll play 24 games.
Right.
Which, I mean, we're talking 24 weeks out of the year. I mean, that's half the year almost.
One week between games.
Right, 1 week between games. So, I mean, if you're playing for 24 weeks, I mean, there's 52 weeks in a year. Not to mention, you'll have 6 weeks of training camp before the preseason even starts, right? So, I mean, you're playing 30 weeks of football. And then after the Super Bowl, you'll get a little time off, and then they'll have the draft, and then you'll be in for OTAs, and that's another, 4 weeks,
Right.
6 weeks.
So you only get a small break.
Yeah, you only get a small break. So you're playing year round. It's crazy.
So how was it like back then? Like the sports science side of it, was it? Because I think like now, like we understand so much more about nutrition, supplements. Like maybe I take more supplements and have a better sports science knowledge than was available back then. Perhaps, I don't know.
Oh, I would guarantee you didn't. So if we go look at the history of sports science in the NFL, right? It starts with a guy who was basically the trainer, the sports science trainer, if you will, strength and conditioning coach is what we call him. And he started with the Raiders. He was like, okay, we're going to make these guys lift weights and run. And he had a son named Todd Marinovich.
When is this though? Like,
I want to say it was the late 80s, early 90s.
oh, so before that, they weren't even lifting weights?
I'm sure some guys were, but like
It wasn't a program.
But it wasn't a program that the team was making you do, right? Maybe guys did it on their own. But this guy, I forget his name, but his son, Todd Marinovich, played at the University of Southern California, played quarterback, and, you know, like he videoed him, you know, his throwing motion, made him work on his running technique. I mean, the guy had to eat right. I mean, it was crazy. And it has evolved since then, right? So you go from nobody lifting weights to, oh, now guys are lifting weights. And now they're finding out like lifting too much weights is bad, right? Because if you understand muscles, when you lift weights, you're basically tearing the muscle down, right? And then what it does is, yeah, you get bigger, but it kind of shortens the muscle. And when the muscle's shortened, your range of motion is shortened.
You're getting injuries.
Not just injuries, but let's say, you know, you're lifting legs and now you can't, your stride length is not as long, so you're not as fast.
So they saw that in the data sort of thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
And then, like you mentioned, nutrition and supplements, right? So, I mean, we're finding out now that being vegan is actually much better for you, right? In terms of recovery. You know, inflammation, and if you understand this at all, I don't know how much you understand about veganism, but when you eat animal products, like it doesn't allow your blood vessels, the capillaries, I forget exactly what it is, to expand, so it doesn't get as much blood flow to your muscles as you would if you just ate plants or fruits or whatever.
So you're getting this oxygen being fed in.
Exactly, right? So, I mean, they're finding out so many things about, you know, sports science and health and the right way to work out. And I mean, I'm to the point now where I don't even lift weights anymore. I mean, if you look at me, you think, oh, this guy, I've had somebody tell me, man, you look like you still play. Man, I don't, man. I do jiu-jitsu. I try to eat just plants. I mean, I'm not completely vegan anymore. I was for a few years. Now I'll eat other things that are animal products. But
you eat eggs and stuff?
I eat eggs and fish, and you know, I have some beef sometimes. I have, you know, my boys want a pizza. I have a pizza with my boys.
I do what you do.
Yeah.
Mainly plants.
Yeah.
I do love eggs, and I do eat a lot of eggs.
You can't go on vacation and not eat eggs, man. It's impossible to get breakfast without eggs anywhere.
I have strong opinions about eggs.
Okay, I'd love to hear those.
No, because when I was young, right, I used to love eggs.
Yeah.
And then, like, my mum would be like, "Oh, no, but they say you're only allowed 2 eggs a week," sort of thing. Like,
I've never heard that.
That was the advice in Australia. High cholesterol, they say.
Oh, got it. Okay, yeah.
But like, I'd want them so much, and there was sometimes like I'd really want them, and I'd notice I'd want them when I'm sick.
Yeah.
Like I feel sick, like I want eggs, and then in my mind it's like, well, there must be something in it. Like, it's not like I want like an ice cream. It's a different sort of thing.
Right.
And then like later, as you get older, people are like, oh, eggs are a superfood, and it's like, I fucking knew it. Do you know what I mean? And like, there's certain rules that I have with eggs that I think it's just common sense. It's like, there is no place, there's no situation where anyone should ever be having 1 egg, unless it was on a burger. I think that's acceptable.
I can see
1
that.
egg on a burger.
See that, yeah.
But there's no other situation where you should be having 1 egg.
Okay.
Right? And if it's a fry-up, like a fry-up, like a full English breakfast.
Yeah.
There's no situation where you should ever be only having 2 eggs on that.
Agreed. Yeah, I would agree with
because the ratio's all out, right?
Exactly.
It's a minimum 4 egg fry-up.
I was going to say maybe 3, but okay. We're talking for one person.
Depending on what's else on the plate. But you never want to have not enough.
I can honestly tell you I've never had a single egg and been satisfied with a single egg. I'll be honest.
Right.
Even deviled eggs. My wife makes the best deviled eggs. Oh my gosh. I'll eat about 10 of those.
Exactly. You can't have 1 egg.
Yeah, can't. So when I was vegan, I was losing weight and I was super lean. I got super lean.
Why'd you do that?
Okay, so from playing football, I got this nerve issue in my low back where I get a nerve, just to make it short.
Sciatica?
It's actually not sciatica, but kind of like that, right? So a nerve gets pinched, it makes my low back spasm, and it's excruciating. I mean, I literally have no core strength. I had a doctor that told me this is the closest to labor pains that you'll feel, right? And I mean, like, it took me 2 hours to get from the couch to the toilet and back. Right. So it's awful. So one day I'm on the couch and I'm on Netflix and I'm watching a show and
Game Changers.
Actually, that came later. It was What the Health, actually.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and they talked about inflammation in the body with animal products, right? And there was a part that mentioned dairy and asthma, right? So as a kid, I had asthma because I ate a buttload of cereal. Okay, I mean, like, my mom could go to the grocery store.
That's what I mean.
Yeah, if we didn't have cereal, we didn't have no food in the house, right?
You have dinner and then have cereal.
Chase it with a bowl of cereal, right? So with cereal comes milk, right? So I had asthma. So one year, fast forward many years later, one year my wife was like, I don't like cheese and I don't like milk. I'm not going to cook with it, right? I'm like, all right, cool, whatever. I'm only going to eat what you cook anyway, so let's do it.
So you stayed with her after she said that?
It was hard. It was hard, but, I managed. So she starts cooking, no dairy, like, and then I start getting leaner and leaner. Asthma goes away. And I'm like, what? This is legit, right? So then fast forward a couple years now, I'm on the couch again, back hurting. And this show talks about, dairy causes asthma. If you don't have dairy, it'll go away. And I'm like, that's true. Like, that happened to me, right? So they're talking about animal products, period. Eggs, beef, all this stuff, right? You cut this out your diet, you'll have a lot less health issues. So literally, cold turkey, one day, went vegan. 3 years vegan, right? But I was always cold. I was freezing all the time, right? I mean, I had abs. I mean, it was crazy. And I was just like, this is not enough. Like, I need more. So let me eat some eggs because, the fat in the eggs. And, I mean, for me, it's just a great energy source, I felt like. So I started eating eggs. And then I was like, I like sushi, so maybe I get away with eating some fish. It's okay. So I was kind of pescatarian for a while. But I did notice a difference if I ate animal products and if I didn't, how my body reacted. And then a couple years later, I see Game Changers, right? And sure enough, like it talks about how if your blood flow is restricted and this and that, right? And for me, I was like, man, like plants is where it's at. Yeah, I like to have a burger every once in a while, or some ice cream, or even some pizza, whatever, but this is not an everyday thing I could do, just for my own health. Yeah. And I think it's working for me, but I'm with you. I can't get rid of eggs, man.
No. Eggs
I can't get rid of eggs, man. Yeah.
I want to get some chickens out on the balcony one day.
Well, I don't know if I want to have chickens, but I want the eggs. How about this? You have the chickens, and then you share some eggs.
And I'll give you the eggs.
You share some eggs.
We'll have to talk about that. I for me, like I always ate like pretty healthy. Like I always ate healthy. Like my mom sort of kind of made sure of that.
Lucky you, man.
Yeah, at the time I fucking hated it.
Oh, you hated her for it. Yeah, you hated her for it, right?
What type of mother would not let her son have some money and buy the food that everyone else is buying at school? But the nutritional advice then was like, you got to eat your pasta and eat your rice.
Eat your beef, right?
Yeah, and beef and stuff like that. But she would also always she would always something like, you need to have 5 different types of vegetables on the plate, sort of thing. Like, honestly,
I would have thought that was nuts 10 years ago, right?
Right, and when you're a kid, that's like child abuse.
What do you mean, like? it is abuse.
It literally
you want me to eat this, right?
No, but so I always ate healthy, and then when I start to live on my own, I continue that.
Yeah.
And when I'm younger, I sort of start to drink and stuff like that. It's like, I should play sport again, because I used to just go surfing and stuff. Yeah. And my friends were playing soccer.
Yeah. Thank you.
So it's like, I should do that because if I stay fit, then I can drink more. Like,
I get it. Yeah.
That makes sense when you're 17.
Yeah.
And so I'd sort of do that, but I'd stay healthy. I'd always run or do whatever.
Yeah, you've always been an active guy.
Yeah. But then, as I got older, sort of learning more and more about nutrition. But I ended up having a major shoulder surgery, like a labrum repair. I went to this guy, the surgeon, and he did.
It wasn't a labia repair, right?
No, it was definitely labrum. Yeah. I got a. That was my third surgery.
Oh God! Okay.
It was covered on the health.
Oh, hey,
insurance.
great.
Yeah. I was very lucky. Yeah, cosmetic, they said, but it's in such a terrible state. We'll do it anyway. But yeah, so like this surgeon, you know what the labrum is?
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
So like
absolutely.
it's like a thing of calamari.
Yeah.
On the roof of your shoulder.
Yeah.
Like because I'd still been training to being really bad, and one day I woke up and my arm was stuck.
Oh wow.
Like that, which like in some parts of the world, this is. You go there and you're sort of doing something a little bit controversial, right? So I knew I needed to have it fixed.
And then you're bald headed too, man. You gotta be careful.
It's not a good look.
Yeah.
It's not a good look at all. So I went to doctor. He said go surgeon and such. And I got referred to this surgeon, and he fixed a lot of the rugby players in
Injuries.
Australia.
Yeah.
So he was like the premier shoulder surgeon. I was very lucky that he happened to be just the one that was down the road.
Yeah.
So he did the scans. Well, they do this. I got scanned and I go to him, and he's like, got this like little pep in his step sort of thing, and I was like, so what's the story? He's like, and he started telling me, I do all the rugby players. He goes, one of the worst I've ever seen.
On you?
Yeah.
And a little too excited about that.
He was like, you can see him like buzzing. He goes like literally like, he goes, it's just hanging on there.
Yeah.
He goes, it's not even doing anything. He said, I'd like to bring my students in for this one. And it's
wow.
Okay.
I can't wait to cut into your shoulder.
Just do a good job.
Yeah.
And he said he normally do 3 stitches. So what he'll do, he's drilled through the top of the bone, drill through the labrum or the calamari, stitch it on. He said, I normally do 3. After it, he then followed up, because he thought he was going to do 6. So he said, I normally do 3, we're going to have to do 6. He says, that's equal to the most I've ever done.
Wow.
So, okay, it must be pretty bad. And then after it, he'd come and see me. He ended up doing 9.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so it was really jacked.
It was bad.
So then after that, I had sort of time off work, and I just stumbled across a documentary called Hungry for Change.
Okay.
I don't know if you've seen it.
I haven't yet. That sounds really interesting though, because I love the What the Health and the Game Changers. I would love to watch this.
So I watched Hungry for Change, and I watched Fat, Sick and Nearly Dead.
Okay.
Which is this Australian guy. His name's like Joe the Juicer.
Yeah.
I think in the promo he goes, he's overweight. He goes, I was a cheeseburger away from a heart attack.
Yeah.
Right? And I watched these 2 documentaries, and they were like, it was really good. Like that Hungry for Change is, it tells you what to do and what you should do and a lot of things but it also is very educational. And I watch it maybe twice a year. I remember stuff
I bought Game Changers actually because it's on Netflix and you can go watch it anytime pretty much. But you know how Netflix take things on and off. Yes. And I bought Game Changers for that reason, to remind me, hey, you will perform better if you eat plants. Yes.
But did you know there's 2 different types of fiber?
What do you mean? What are we talking about? Are we talking about in your body, fibers in your body? Or are we talking about? Oh, I didn't know.
Right. So that's why this was really informative. So there's the fiber as we know it, in the cereal.
Yeah.
But there's also called gelatinous fiber.
Okay.
So things like aloe vera, chia seeds, seaweed.
Yeah.
Those type of things. So when they go through us, they absorb toxins, and you
poop it out. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So it was just loads of little things like that. When you have a toxin in your body, your body sends fat around the toxin to sort of insulate it, so it doesn't go into your system.
Got it.
So when people are overweight and then lose a whole lot of weight quick, it's actually they have to detoxify the body, or that fat disappears and that toxin goes into the body, and people get sick.
Yeah.
So it was very much about detoxifying the body. So they, after the surgery, they were giving me all those oxycodons or whatever. Yeah,
oxycodones. And
terrible. And then I felt funny in the stomach, and it just didn't go away. And after about 2 weeks, I was like, I've got to do something. And that's the point where I stumbled across the documentaries.
Yeah.
And the guy that was a cheeseburger or that thing away from a heart attack.
Not that one.
I think he just moved.
Yeah, not that one, because he's not going to eat that one.
No. He had a sickness. Doctors didn't know what was going on. And then he was like, when I was a kid, I'd get sick, but I'd just get better, but I ate good. So he thought, what happens if I do that?
Yeah.
And he does a 40-day juice fast, and his illness goes away. 40-day green juice fast. So I was like, okay, then I'll just try that. Like, I don't have to, I've got time off work. And
Yeah. Why not,
try
right?
it. So I did it for like 3 days, and then I was out the front of a supermarket in a gutter eating a roast chicken, but I couldn't do it. Like I was literally in the gutter.
Yeah.
Eating it. Like people looking at me like I was like homeless. like I didn't even break the leg off. Like I was so hungry.
Yeah.
Right? So I failed dismally, and then I got past that, and then I did a 40-day juice fast. I only had green juice for 40 days.
Like the juice fast, right? I would have a hard time with that because it's just juice. But I will admit to you, I have an extractor. Okay, I use an extractor. The difference between an extractor and a juicer is a juicer you put it in and it squeezes out the juice, and you lose all the pulp, and which a lot of the fiber is in the pulp of fruits, right? A lot of the good stuff is in the pulp. So I have an extractor which you just throw the whole thing in there and it liquefies it all. And so I get the pulp, I get the juice. If I want to put seeds in there, like I can do seeds.
Yeah.
And quite honestly, this is how I give my sons their greens and vegetables and fruit, right? Because I'll make them a little shake. It'll have kale and spinach, and
trick them into it.
Right. It'll have some mango and some pineapple and some ginger, just to get these things in their body that they need.
Yeah. And
they don't have to eat it, right? They can just. My little guy, I'm like, here, drink this. He's like, no, but drink it, man. Trust me, you'll be okay. And it's getting to the point where like my older one is like, Dad, man, will you make me a shake?
That's good.
Because it's starting to feel like his body, and this is a guy, like if we buy food, right? So like we'll buy things to make at home, and he's like, Dad, man, will you buy me these vegan burgers? Like, they taste like burgers, right? But they're not animal products, right? So I'm kind of happy about that he's, he's doing that on his own in terms of like, hey, Dad, I want to eat this. And the biggest reason, man, is a funny story because like being vegan, like you've seen Game Changers, yes?
Mm-hmm.
So there's a part on there where it talks about how it can affect a male erection, right?
Oh yeah. They have a
whole section on there, right?
Do a little experiment.
Yes, exactly, right. So, being a teenage boy, you know what I mean. You think, what do you think about food and sex, right? So it's just kind of what it is, right? So he's doing his homework. I'm watching Game Changers. I'm like, son, watch this part, man. I just want you to, So he's watching it, and he's like, I can see him getting more and more interested. And then the part's over, and I'm like, see, man, it's not just good for you to be healthy, man, but, you want your parts to work when you're older, So I ask him, it's over, about time to make dinner. And I'm like, son, what do you want for dinner? And he had told me he wanted pizza earlier, right? And then he's like, Dad, could you make me some of those vegan burgers? And I'm just like, okay, I got you, man. I got you, So, I mean, and here's what's crazy. My mother, she was nuts, okay? She's a whole nother show, right? She's crazy. But she was kind of like your mom. How she was kind of out of the box with how she wanted to feed you. And it's crazy, right? You call your mom, hey, Mom, when you talked about doing this, you were right. I'm sorry, But my mom, she was like, you should be eating more plants. You should not eat so much meat, blah, blah, blah. But my father's American. We eat American food. And,
where's your mom from?
Well, my mom's American too, but she's actually Black and Korean, right? So she grew up eating Korean food, right?
Right.
I mean, even when I played football, she said, if you're going to play football, you should do ballet, right? And I'm like, you're nuts. I'm not being in a little tutu. Like, no, I carry the ball. I run people over.
Right?
Man, she was right.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, you get flexible, you get strong,
Footwork.
You'll never be injured.
Dexterous with the feet.
You'll never be injured, right? So, of course, I had to call her and, hey, Mom, you were right. Because I discovered yoga late in my career, and I realized, like, this is a lot like my mom saying you should do ballet, And she was right, man. She was 100% right. Now, about food, she would always be like, hey, you should eat this, you should eat this. And I'm like, no, right? And I really don't think I would have ever even thought about being vegan if I didn't have this example of my mother. She was crazy. She did a lot of crazy stuff, but she wasn't all bad, right? She did some good things, especially when it came to, hey, try to eat this. You should eat this. You should eat this way. And now my sons, I've learned children don't listen to what you say, right? They watch what you do. You know what I mean? So my sons, they see like I'm drinking almond milk, not regular milk. No, I don't want. If I do get a pizza, I like cheese. No, I'd rather have the plant-based version. Option. And my sons are seeing this, right? And my older son, he's starting to see like, man, this stuff. I think my dad's right. So hopefully, when he's an adult and he's taking care of himself, he realizes. He's a jiu-jitsu guy too, right? You've seen him, so maybe he'll get beat up in class one day and he's tired and can't recover, and he's like, man, maybe I should start eating like just my dad.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping it works, out for him. But I'm going to tell you, man, I've heard people say, oh, I'll never be vegan. I'll never. And I'm just like, man, you're missing out on your life, man. Because, my understanding is if you're eating plants, your body doesn't need as much energy to digest the food and break it down and all these other things, right? And for me, as a guy who's trying to, perform, I want all the energy I can have to spend on the pitch or the field, right? So I have learned, like, look, man, let's just try to eat plant-based as much plant-based as possible, because we're gonna be healthier later. We'll be able to perform better. I read about how they say your gut is your second brain.
Yeah.
I mean, if you look at the tissue, I mean, it literally looks the same. Like the tissue in your brain and in your colon and your intestines, it looks the same if you like bunch it up.
Okay,
yeah. It literally looks the same. So. And if I'm understanding correctly, it actually that those cells split in utero, and one goes to your brain and one is your gut.
Right.
So I'm just like, man, I don't want to have these crazy thoughts. And come on, we've all been there where we've binged, bags of Doritos and candy and pizza.
I
and
can do that too.
Right, exactly, right.
My weaker moments.
Exactly. And we know how we feel afterwards,
You feel
right?
terrible.
Yeah.
Like at the time, it makes complete sense to eat the whole thing of Doritos,
Right.
half another one, and 2 Magnums.
Right, exactly.
Like why wouldn't you?
And then I'm going to wash it down with a soda, right?
And then 3 hours later, like you just,
Yeah. And tomorrow when you go to class in jiu-jitsu, you're like, oh my gosh, I'm going to get beat up, right? So I'm trying to teach my sons, I got a little bit of time with my daughter. So my daughter's 21, and she got to catch the end of that, right? Like the end of her living at home with me. As I first started being vegan, she started to get to, see, oh, Dad eats this way. And my son's, my youngest son who's 9, he gets to see it like full blown his whole life pretty much. But I swear by it. I feel like, listen, man, if you want to go perform, if you want to go like perform in sports, if you want to be a singer, if you want to be an actor, whatever, I think you should eat this way.
It's just you just feel good. Like I think like humans is kind of like you just I don't know. It's like we're like simple creatures. Like we're just constantly trying to feel good.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like and especially when it comes to food.
Yeah.
And like those Doritos are engineered with the perfect amount of fat, salt, and sugar that when you have it, like you get this like feel good feeling.
I think it activates the same thing in your
The
brain that
dopamines.
heroin does, right? Like it's nuts.
They do. Like they engineer it to like work on your dopamine receptors,
Yes.
but also engineer it to make you want to have
To get
another
more.
one. All that MSG on it. Like the when they do studies and on weight loss things like that.
Yeah.
They've got to make the lab rats fat, right?
Right.
The only way that they make those lab rats fat is by feeding them MSG. Because MSG makes you...
Does it make you retain water as well? Like,
I think so, but it also... It switches off the receptors where, like, you think you're full.
I didn't know that.
Right. You should definitely check out that documentary. It's very good.
Yeah, I will. I will check it out. I'm going to tell you what, though. It makes sense because after I eat the whole bag of Doritos, I'm like...
I could go another.
I could get some more, you know?
Yeah.
Until I'm just like, oh my gosh, my stomach
You've
hurts.
abused yourself
Exactly.
so much. But like, yeah, we're just constantly chasing these little highs in a way, right? Like,
Yeah.
but I think like eating that way is like you're chasing the immediate high, but then later you feel shit. But
No,
if you
really.
eat like healthy and very plant-based,
Yeah.
you're maybe less of an immediate high, but like you're actually feeling good, like proper good.
Yeah, I'm going to tell you, like, fruit, if there was no more fruit on the planet, I'd hang myself, okay? I mean, so I eat a ton of fruit. I mean, it tastes good to me. It gives me the, hydration. I mean, I love it. And my wife is like, "What's you could go live on an island with you and a knife and your little, your little straw underwear, and you'd be fine, right?" And I'm like, "Yeah, so easy, right?" But for me, it's fruit, man. I mean, I know when I want to feel. So if I'm not feeling well, or I'm like, man, let me have some fruit. Let me have some coconut water, and that's it. I don't want anything else, because it's plants, right? Fruit is from the earth, right? It's from the ground. There's nothing added to it. There's no animals. It's
natural.
It's natural.
It's not processed.
Not processed, right? I'm talking even where I don't even want to get the cut up ones in the plastic. You know what I mean? No. I want the fresh fruit, cut it up, let's eat it.
Well, it degrades as soon as you take it off the tree, right?
Exactly.
It starts to lose its nutritional value.
And then, like I said, I use my extractor quite often, man. My wife and I will make shakes, several shakes throughout the week, just so we can get our plants in us, because maybe it's a crazy week, right?
Yeah, who's got time to be like, oh, I'm going to eat that much vegetables?
Right, and sometimes you just don't feel like it's, like my kids go to school and, like today, I'll be late getting home with my son and we'll have to hustle to jiu-jitsu and maybe I didn't get to prepare dinner, so maybe I'll let them order something for food, right? It doesn't happen every day, but that's life. Sometimes it happens, right? And I prefer to not eat that way when I don't feel well, right? But I'm not 100% always eating. It's just difficult to do in this fast-paced life, right? But I prefer to do that. So like I said, my kids will eat some things sometimes, and even I will. But for the most part, man, fruit for me is, if I have fruit, I'm going to live. I'm going to be okay. Now, what I have to say is, I'm a big fan of like sea moss and bladderwrack.
Of what?
Sea moss and bladderwrack.
What is that?
Okay, so I'm not sure exactly what the numbers are, but I think your body needs like some 114 minerals or something to function properly. And when you take sea moss and bladderwrack, I think that's like 106 of them.
Right.
And
sea moss.
Yeah.
Not like spirulina.
I don't know what spirulina is, but
is it like is it a green powder and you stir it and it gets quite thick and
it's
goopy?
Probably something like that. I've never had that, but I take these little capsules, man, a couple times a day. And, I get my physical done every year. My doctor's always like, oh, man, healthy as always, doing great, and I think it's because, I try to eat plant-based and I have these sea moss and bladderwrack pills. And it helps my body with and I feel a difference when I don't take them. Like I feel... And I shouldn't say if I'm eating all plants and I'm taking my bladderwrack that like it's a huge difference, but if I'm not eating great and I don't take the bladderwrack, I'm just like, oh gosh, I really feel it.
You feel flat.
Yeah, I really feel it. Yeah, so man, I'm a big fan of the plants and the bladderwrack for the sea moss for the minerals. I mean, if you think about it, like we're made of water. I mean, there's and this sea moss is in the water. I mean, there's other things, but
plastic, for example,
right? Killing our world, we're killing ourselves. But man, I swear by it. I swear by it.
So that was one thing that I. So once I did that fast, like when you're not eating and you're fasting, like it's a mental challenge.
Oh, yeah, you're hangry all the time, man.
Yeah, but also like people fast for spiritual reasons,
Truly,
right?
yeah.
Like, and they do that. They're going to a different place to a certain extent, right?
Yeah.
Like, so I had a lot of time to think, and then like I always had trouble sleeping when I was just since I was born, as far as I can remember. Like I'd literally be like 4, and like I'd go downstairs and like Mum, and she'd be like, what was that? I can't sleep.
Yeah.
Like if I was my mum, I'd be like, well, I
don't
can.
know what to tell you. Yeah.
But, and then I realised during that time, because I had so much time to think, and thinking about food, right, and ultimately, I guess my relationship with it. When I eat, I get tired.
Okay.
Right? So like, but you're supposed to eat big in the morning and smaller at night. It's like, but like why? Like, and also you repair at night.
Right.
So wouldn't it be better for me to just like save up all the food, eat it at the end of the day, and just go into a massive food coma? But then like my body's getting everything it needs, right?
Well, your body's working too, right? When it's digesting your food. So I'm sure you've done it before. Have you ever eaten just like pizza and burgers, like, just heavy stuff, and you're like, oh gosh, I want to go to sleep afterwards,
your
right?
body's trying to break all that down.
It's because your body's spending energy to break the food down and process it. Like hospitals. I mean, so my wife, we were in Hawaii one year. My wife almost cut her thumb off because she fell on some bamboo, and we had to go to the hospital. And I go into the cafeteria. I'm starving, right? I'm like, oh, I'm so hungry, and they have like vegan options, like a whole vegan menu, and I'm like, this is dope, because if your body's breaking down animal products, then it's not spending the energy to heal. And when you make your body work harder to break down food, you don't have the energy to heal yourself. So this in particular hospital, I thought was doing great, because they're like, they realize, eating vegan will help our people heal faster.
Well, that's the Hippocratic Oath, right? That doctors take. Food is thy medicine.
Right. Well, I'm going to tell you, man, I didn't realize this until I was considerably older, but if I understood, your medicine is thy food and thy food is thy medicine, I didn't understand this at all. I was like, nah, whatever. Like, give me some pills for this headache, whatever. No, man, something else is going on. The pain and issues you have in your body is telling you something's not right.
Yeah, it's there in you for a reason.
Right, exactly. So what is it? Why am I, okay, I'm a little dehydrated. I'll have some water or some coconut water. You know what I mean? So I don't need Gatorade.
Well, so this is the thing. So I then started like, okay, I'm just going to eat like this.
Yeah.
Like, I'm just going to eat everything at night. And,
Yeah.
and like I felt good. And do you know who Steve Maxwell is?
Why does the name sound familiar? I'm not sure.
He's one of the first people to take a kettlebell out of Russia.
Okay.
Like he's like, when I knew him, he used to come and train with us once a year for a month every year. He's I think he was like one of Horian's first black belts, right? Like
yeah.
He was like 65 at the time. Like,
Yeah.
He's like ripped dude.
Like
Like
I could go, huh?
yeah, but like he's just like a health and fitness pioneer. And
Yeah.
I was like, oh, Steve, like like I'm eating this way. Like, yeah, do you think this is okay? He's like Paul. He goes, this is how we're born. This is how we thrive. He goes, I eat like that. He goes, but like you think about like this is human time, right?
Right.
Because the nutritional advice we have, like this 3 meals a day stuff, is this much of our existence.
Right.
But he said all of this is like you woke up. It's like there wasn't no fridge.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? You literally, there's a leftover nut that
Right.
someone dropped because we don't have lights.
Right.
I'll eat that. And you walk through the jungle and you try to not get killed by a tiger. You tried to kill a tiger.
Right.
And if you did, then you ate it.
You had a meal.
And then you went to sleep.
Yeah.
And he goes, I believe this is how we're meant to sort of thrive. So I just kept eating that way. And then later it's like, intermittent fasting. Like they sort of say this thing. But I feel really good like that. And there's a point where you kind of like, when you get that, I've got to eat.
Yeah, yeah.
I feel like, and I might be wrong, that point your body is transitioning.
Yeah.
Into okay, now I'm going to take the energy that's on me, the fat. I'm
Right,
going to
exactly.
go burn that, and there's this 15-minute period, and if you could just sort of go through that, take some water, like you find this different type of clean energy that's already been digested and ready to go. Yeah, I feel very good eating that way.
Yeah. So my wife actually, we try to study a little bit and kind of figure out what's the best for us. And my wife was doing some intermittent fasting, and she gets mad at me because she's like, "Oh, you lift weights for 2 weeks and you look like Arnold Schwarzenegger. I hate you, right? You don't ever get fat. You can eat whatever you want. I hate you." Okay, baby, I love you, whatever. But like the intermittent fasting, I feel like I could almost, it's weird. Like I know I sound crazy, right? But I almost feel like when I get to that point where I'm hungry and my body's burning like this extra fat, I almost feel it like, oh man, it's burning this fat right here.
You can just feel your body reaching for like.
I can't feel it burning the fat per se, right? But you got it.
I know what you mean. I know what you mean. So you're intermittent fasting as well? Or?
Well, I've done it before, and
you feel good, huh?
I do and I don't, right? Because I'm just that guy. I mean, my metabolism is nuts. Okay, so. When I don't eat, my wife is like, no. If I say I'm hungry, she's like, I got about 27 minutes to feed this man, right? So it is something that I know works for me if I wanted to do it, but I don't enjoy it so much because, man, I'm hungry. I'm always hungry.
I feel like for me, like there's some days it's easy, like I don't even think about it, and other days it's like I don't know, like I might smell food and then I'm like, shit, like and then suddenly it's like it becomes a decision thing where
Truly.
like if I didn't have like this trigger, then there's no decision to be made.
Yeah,
but, like I'll go to like the night class at training, do 2 of them back to back.
Yeah,
I haven't had a thing.
Right,
Do you know what I mean?
right.
Like and I get through it. Am I performing at my peak performance? No, like I'm not.
Yeah,
but overall, in long term, I feel like it.
You feel better.
Yeah.
And also, like your mind is occupied, right? So, you're doing your like if I'm just sitting at home chilling all day and I'm trying to fast, like that's just failure waiting to happen, right? Because I'm not set up for success. I'm just kind of twiddling my thumbs, thinking about these Doritos, I want to know you shouldn't get them.
I can hear the packet
right,
rustling
exactly.
by itself in the cupboard.
But if I'm gone, like I have errands to run, I got to go to the store, and then I got to leave really quick to make it to jiu-jitsu, or then my mind is occupied and I'm not so worried about eating. You know what I mean? But just hanging out, chilling. Oh man, I'm a fat guy stuck in a skinny guy's body, man. It's kind of not fair.
I think that's the other thing with me is like if I didn't have healthy, just like everyone, if you didn't make healthy decisions, you'd be overweight.
Oh yeah.
But
my wife says no. She's like, baby, no. Like you. There was a time like I didn't really care what I ate, and she's like, you've never been fat a day in your life, right? And I'm just like, well, okay. I disagree, but I think I can get fat.
If I did whatever I want, I'd be a disaster.
If I just ate pizza and lasagna and chicken and this, which I know I'll feel terrible, but I know I could pack the weight on. I know I can. But I just, I choose to not eat. I think my wife thinks that I'm just super lucky with my genetics, right? But no, I mean, when you're getting coffee and, you putting all this stuff in your coffee and I just have some mango, like there's a reason. There's a difference,
Yeah.
So
Starbucks, mango.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
And they will call me crazy because back home, I'll take my sons to the kids class in jiu-jitsu, and I'll be sitting on the little chair watching class, peeling a mango, eating a mango. Everybody's like, "You're weird. You're just fucking weird. You sit here and you eat fruit, and we're yes, I'm hungry." Well, what should I go get a burger? Yeah. No, like this is good. It makes me feel good, and I don't care if I got a peel of mango in front of you.
This is one thing when I went to America, like I kind of, I don't know, like I'd never been there before, right? Like I felt like the food situation there is terrible.
It is.
Like really bad.
It is.
Like the level of knowledge of what people think is good food and their relationship with it. It was kind of like, it's like the land of the free is trapped by itself. It's trapped by its relationship with food, its health system.
I'm glad you mentioned that because if this show, What the Health, it talks about the conspiracies, right? So the government comes out with, what is a nutritional diet? I think it's every 2 or maybe it's 4. Maybe it's every 4 years. And they talk about, this is what you should eat for a balanced diet. There's milk in there. There's, chicken, beef or something like. So the only way you can get this on this thing is like people lobby for it. They pay the government, and it's a conspiracy, right? No, we want to make this money. We're going to give you this money so you can say you should drink all this milk. You know what I mean? You've seen the commercials. The United States Got Milk, and there's the milk mustache. And
I haven't seen it, but in Australia they had the same sort of thing.
Okay,
it's the Dairy Farmers Association.
Right,
it's
exactly.
There's ads for lamb. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
And it's the Lamb Sheep Growers Association.
Yeah, exactly. So, but dairy is the number one cause for heart disease in America. So that's healthy?
So when I was young, right, this girl that was a friend, and this is where I got sort of wary about dairy.
Yeah.
Is she was in a 4-wheel drive and she was driving along, and I think she was on a family holiday. She was 15, and they went over a big bump, and she felt something feel really, really funny, and she felt terrible. So she went doctor, and the process there started. Basically, she had a cancer, and they cut the cancer out of her. It was the size of they said a small rugby ball, so probably like an NFL ball.
Yeah.
But it had like hair and teeth, right? Like not like perfect.
No, yeah,
shaped teeth.
No, I know what you mean, but that,
Right.
that just sounds scary, man.
Imagine what it looked like. But like, and then the doctor was kind of like, honestly, I don't know why this is in you, but he said, like, we're the only animals that suckle beyond birth.
Right.
Plus, we suckle the milk
Of another
a
animal.
four-legged beast that ultimately, when it's born, needs to grow really quick
500 pounds in a year.
to get away from predators.
Right.
Like, obviously not in a dairy field.
Right.
A
But no,
bovine animal.
no. But as you to speak to your point, I mean, cow's milk is made for this calf to grow 500 pounds in a year.
Yeah.
Like, are you kidding me? So you're gonna tell me all these years of evolution or whatever, like you don't think the human body has figured out how to make the right milk that's right for a baby?
Right.
You know what I mean? My understanding is human breast milk, is much lower content in fat
Okay.
and something else. I can't remember. Maybe even protein. I'm not sure. Than like rat's milk.
Right.
Like I'm not even like it was on one of these documentaries. It's kind of crazy, right? So, there's some really good things like ice cream. Ice cream is great. Okay.
Oh, I love ice cream.
Yeah,
that's my heroin.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Man, I love ice cream, right? But man, we should not be having drinking milk. Like people say, oh, you have to have your glass of milk for your calcium. The data actually says that it actually sucks the calcium from your bones. You know what I mean? And there's other ways to get calcium through plants.
Right.
And it just blows my mind how it's still. I mean, this day and age of information. I mean, you can go look at YouTube. You can go look up data. So I still have access to the University of Phoenix library, where I got my master's degree. And whenever I don't know, I go look up the data. To see. Sometimes there's articles, sometimes there's not. And these are not just regular, journalism articles. These are scientific
Like
articles.
studies. Yeah.
Right? Where you have hypotheses and all this stuff, right? Because I want to know. I have access to it. I want to know. Because what you see on television or, on your Instagram or whatever, it's not always the truth. It's not always the truth.
Rarely.
For the most part, they're trying to sell you something. You know what I mean? And I'm the guy. I tell my kids, question everything. Okay, especially if it doesn't feel right. I mean, question your dad. I mean, Dad, why did you come downstairs, butt naked? Like what? That's not normal. Yeah. Well, son, I just felt like it. Nah, Dad. Okay, I was in the shower, and like ask me until you're satisfied, right? But if you don't have the data to look at, I mean, how can you really make a choice? So, man, I'm that guy, Paul. I'm that guy. I'm like, okay, well, I'll hear something new. Let me go look this up. You know what I mean?
Go down that rabbit hole.
Oh yeah, and it's. Now I don't go so far that it consumes me, because there are some people that they're just doing too much, right? I'm just like I just once I get my question answered, like okay, I'm good. I don't need all this extra stuff, because there's people, they go way too far with some conspiracy theories.
Yeah, some conspiracy theories a little bit crazy.
And I'm just like, okay, so you got all the data on the conspiracy. What are you gonna do about it now? What are you gonna do? So. I don't do that to myself at all.
So do you reckon if you had adopted while in your playing career, if you adopted nutritional sort of ways that you are now, do you think that you could have got to a better level?
Absolutely.
Yeah?
I would have played longer. I'd have played at a higher level.
Yeah.
Man, I'd know for sure. I would have. I feel so. When I ran track in college, I ran 20.68. Is the record. And I mean, honestly, if you're competing at all, really, on a world class level, I mean, you need to run at least a second faster than that. You know what I mean? And at the time, I was going to spring ball, football, and so I was going to 2 practices a day. I was running track and playing football. So I realize now, like if I was getting the proper rest, if I was getting the proper nutrition, I mean, because eating plant-based is huge for recovery. You know what I mean? It's huge. So I believe with every fiber of my being, if I was eating plant-based when I was competing, I would have been a much better competitor.
Like 10%, 20% better maybe.
I mean, maybe more, because my diet was terrible. When I was playing, I was the guy, like, I'll eat a whole bag of Snickers bars, because I can, because it won't show up on my body. Little did I know it shows up in my performance. Did I think it did at the time? I didn't, but now looking back, I'm like, that had to have affected me.
So you weren't eating well for the nutritional advice back then?
I had never really learned to eat the right way. You know, no one, and like I was still fast, I was still strong, I was still a good competitor. Okay, I don't need to change, right? If it ain't broke, don't fix it, right?
Right.
But little did I know. You know, even though I had my mother telling me you should eat this way, she didn't tell me why, but you should eat this way, you should eat this way. And, you know, it just never really registered until I was older and I was done.
So now, like in those pro teams, like in the professional teams in the NFL, like they'd be super strict, right? Would they?
Well, no, you're a grown man. They let you eat what you want to eat, right?
Really?
Yeah, they will. But
they don't put people on programs.
So, like in college,
protect their investment. Right?
In college, they will, right? But when you say protect your investment, like, believe it or not, they feed you breakfast and lunch at the facility. So sometimes they give you good things, sometimes they don't. When I was playing in Oakland and like Seattle and these places, I mean, you would still feed you eggs and sausage. If you wanted bacon, you could get bacon. But they would give you some options, right? Some healthier, I should say better quality food, right? So, you know, better eggs, better meat, better. But now, if you watch Game Changers, there's a guy at Tennessee Titans. He was actually eating vegan. And it got to the point where
his wife was making it.
His wife was making it, right? It got to the point where his wife was making, you know, meals for people. And and that right there should tell you, okay, like we could eat more plant-based. Now, I haven't been in the league for, you know, well over a decade, right? My last year in the league was, 2004? So, I mean, we're going on 16, 17 years, right? So a lot has changed since then. So I would imagine that they're giving players plant-based options, you know, if they're feeding them in the facility. But I'm going to tell you, man, if it's me, I'm eating plant-based. If it's me, I'm eating as little animal products as possible, just so I can recover, just so I can, you know, recover in the moment on the field, you know, when we're done working out, so I can recover for the next time I'm going to train. You know, we talked about how your gut is like your second brain. I mean, we know it affects your thinking, the things that you eat, you know. And then I just feel like confidence is a huge thing when you're talking about sports, right? You know, competition. You know, so if you're feeling like crap and you're like, oh, and, you know, like that kind of, instead of having your thinking go this way, it kind of makes your thinking kind of taper off, and maybe you don't feel like you could, you know, hit this time on the track, or maybe you don't feel like you could, you know, make this play in a game. And it's because of what you ate, not because it has nothing to do with your ability. It's all because you just think you can or you can't. And when you think that, you're right. Whether you can or you can't, if you think it, you're right.
So what about then special supplements,
like
steroids? Was there much in it back then, and
so,
is it in there now? Do you know?
So I was a guy that, like, I'm playing by the rules. You know what I mean? So I had never done any kind of steroids or anything like that.
But it existed, right?
Oh, for sure. So in fact, I was a senior in college, right? And I was a little naive to it, if I'm being honest. But there was a guy on our team that was selling it, right? And selling it to us, and, you know, and I bought some, and I'm like, okay, this is my last year. I'm trying to get to the league. I'm gonna, you know, do everything I can.
Were they testing at that time?
Well, they were, but I mean, I was a clean cut guy. Like, I was never super big. I was always really fast, right? So, I mean, they say it's random, but it ain't random. I mean, not one time did I get tested. Not for like illegal drugs, not for steroids, nothing. Because I was the clean cut guy that did everything by the book, right? But I found out, like, we had several guys using it,
right?
And I just never did. So and then you get to the NFL. Now they just have, you know, what's the word I'm looking for? Better drugs, I should say, right? You know, so it's like okay, maybe you could take it this long and then you won't get tested. There was a bunch of guys taking it. I mean, there's one guy that I actually knew that I've known him for a long time. He was taking it in college. We didn't go to the same school, but he was taking it in college, and he played great. Ended up getting to the league, and the guy ends up winning a Super Bowl and plays in the league for some years. You know, and he's not the only guy that I knew. There was a guy that I played with that took it, did good, ended up going to play, you know, a few years in the league. Didn't win any Super Bowls or anything, but like he was on it. It was obvious, you know.
Just physically.
And the attitude, like the bad attitude, man. Some guys break out, you know what I mean? It's crazy. But I was just, I mean, for one, I was that guy. Like I'm never taking it because I don't want all these breakouts. Like I'm too pretty for that. You know what I mean? so no way I was doing that. Also, it was cheating. Yeah. You know what I mean? So I was like, no, I'll never do that. But it's around, man.
But it wasn't rife. Like it wasn't like, you know, 80% of the team was on it or anything like that. No.
I mean, again, I'm a little naive to it because it's just not something that I did.
Mm.
But I mean, I've heard people say like it's more than half, which I don't know if I believe that or not, because like you have friends that you hang out with and, you know, they don't talk about it or you don't see it. I mean, you know, when you go on trips, you know, I mean, they're your roommates sometimes, you know, there's no signs of it.
Mm.
Not that I knew what the signs were anyway, but there was nothing glaring like the guy had a needle out in the room or anything like that. Nothing like that. But my understanding was, you know, a lot of guys took it. I can't really give you a solid number, you know. I mean, most guys wouldn't tell you anyway.
Right.
You know, so, I mean, unless you get popped for it, then, okay, well, you got me, you know. But you've heard about guys like Barry Bonds and these guys taking stuff in baseball.
Jose Canseco.
Jose Canseco.
They're massive. Massive guy. Do you need to be that big for baseball?
No, but I mean, when all you do is lift weights and you don't really run. I mean, come on, baseball. You're standing around a lot. You know what I mean? So, and then when you go to bat, like all you're doing is swinging this wooden bat to hit this little ball. I mean, yeah, you can get muscles to do that. Just same motion.
Well, it's like golf without the walking.
Right.
Right. The ball's a bit bigger and the bat's sort of a different shape.
And when you're playing defense, when you're out there in the field, like you might have to move every once in a while, maybe, right? But I mean, you lifting weights, you're eating, you're working out, you're probably going to get big unless you actually go work on your cardio, right? But man, I'm sure that a lot of people in the NFL are taking it. I'm sure there's guys that play rugby take it, you know.
Yeah, I mean, there's people get in trouble, you know, you see it in the news, but I think, I don't know, it's kind of like they're one step ahead, you know, the drugs are always one step ahead
of the testing.
The technology, it's like a technology race, right?
Yeah, so that's the word I was looking for, designer drugs, right? So they're less detectable, they get out of your system faster type stuff, you know, less side effects. You know, technology, like you said, technology is getting better and better and the testing is not caught up.
You've seen Icarus, right?
I don't think so.
Have you not?
Mm-mm.
Wow, so like, you know, like, the Russians are not allowed to compete in the Olympics.
Oh, because of...
It's because of this documentary.
Oh, really?
You should definitely watch it.
I'm going to check that out.
So it's basically, like, there's this guy, and he's like an amateur cyclist.
Yeah.
And I don't know, there's quite a long race. I can't remember what it is, but there's a long road race.
Yeah.
And he does it, and he sees these other people doing really, really well, and you know, he's into his cycling, obviously. And he says, I'm going to do it again, but I'm going to take steroids and see what the effects is. And then he tries to find somebody who will help him do it the right way.
Yeah.
So he comes across this Russian guy. I can't remember how he meets him, and that guy is part of the team that helps Russia, basically.
Yeah.
And the process of making the documentary uncovers
everything,
all this stuff.
Oh gosh!
Where like they had like this really sophisticated system where they were doping their athletes and stuff like that. But when it come to the testing, they had like a hole in the wall or something, like in the testing room where they could swap the
Are you
the
serious?
pee or the blood samples.
That's crazy.
You should. It's really.
I'm gonna
interesting.
check that out.
It's really interesting. It's
Icarus.
crazy what they did.
You might have to send me the name again because I might forget. But
Yeah.
but I want to check that out
Yeah,
because
it's very
because
interesting.
That's nuts.
It's mental what they were doing.
But I gotta ask you a question though. I really and this is coming from a fan's perspective. Okay, so taking steroids is supposed to help. It's a performance enhancing drug, right? It's supposed to make you stronger, maybe recover, right? And HGH, right? Even that, right? It's supposed to help you heal. Now, if I'm a guy who watches sport, let's say I watch basketball, and I go to watch the finals, right? But LeBron James is in it. Steph, who Steph Curry is?
Yes.
The guy who can shoot. He can shoot. He walks in the gym. He's in range, right? You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah. So what if Steph is hurt? What if LeBron is hurt? What if all the stars are hurt because it's long seasons and it's like, well, I want to watch the best guys play. So what if we let them take steroids or HGH and we regulate it, right? Because at the end of the day, you watch a little UFC.
Mm-hmm.
So John Bones Jones, he would say it helps, but it doesn't change who you are. Like I'm not going to take some steroids and run as fast as Usain Bolt. That ain't gonna happen.
No.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So
you're still working with the same genetics
yeah,
or whatever.
Exactly.
You can
It can help.
You can train more and recover faster.
Right. It can help, but it's not going to change who you are completely. It's not going to, you know what I mean? So as a spectator, I want to see LeBron James jump from the 3-point line and dunk the ball. You know what I mean? I want to see Usain Bolt run under 9 seconds. Why not?
They just need two leagues.
No, but you see what I'm saying? Everybody looks down on it. It's I never did it competing, but now I'm at the point where I'm like, why not?
Yeah.
It's their body. They're choosing to do it.
But it's
Why
not a
wouldn't you let
level
them?
playing field, right?
Well, why not? You could take it too.
But if you didn't take it, and then someone took your spot, and you couldn't make that money, and you couldn't feed your daughter, then that's.
That sucks. That kind of sucks for me, right? But I'm not talking about for the guys who are playing, right? Because the guy like me who would never take it, that would suck, right? But as a spectator, as somebody who is enjoying the game for what it is with the best athletes, why not?
Maybe as a
You
spectator.
can have the roid league, right? You know how
The roid league, right?
They
Yeah.
have clean bodybuilders and they have roid.
Right,
bodybuilders.
exactly, yeah.
You just have a roid league and a non-roid league.
Just for everything.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know about for everything, but honestly, and then let's think about it, man. There are guys that get injured, right? And they're done. You know what I mean?
Yeah, career over.
Yeah, career's over. So it's kind of like, why not let them get back to, sometimes they're not even a shadow of what they were, right? Why not let them take some things to, because what do we watch sports for, right? We're inspired by the stories. Oh man, this guy did this. That was amazing. You know what I mean? Again, testosterone will only help you do so much. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So for me, in my mind, I'm just like, because now as a former professional athlete, I'm like, what could I have done to recover better? What could I have done to be better? And obviously, taking testosterone is breaking the rules. So I wouldn't have done that. But at the same time, how can we keep ourselves healthy? How can we keep ourselves, a semblance of what we are after football or after basketball or whatever? You know what I mean? So LeBron James has played how many years in the NBA? 20 years, something?
Really?
He's 36. So I think he went in when he was 18.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
So he's played, 19 years, almost 20 years, something like that?
That's crazy.
His joints are going to hurt when he's older, right?
Yeah.
Y'all aren't going to be mad at him if he takes HGH when he's done,
Yeah.
right? But by this time, everything's already been broken down. That's not fair to him. How's he going to get to, he's been playing ball all these years, and I get it. He's the one that made the choice, but it's also those guys that make the choice to put that in their body. It's their choice.
I guess it's probably hard to regulate and police, I guess, unless
Are
you
you-
just
are you kidding
open
me?
slather. Just
Are you kidding me? Have
go for
you
it.
seen how they regulate COVID? Don't tell me you can't regulate PEDs somehow. You know what I mean? All this stuff you're doing for COVID, all these tests, this fast test, come on, man.
So if there's the roid league and the non-roid league,
Yeah.
which one are you going to watch?
I'm gonna watch the one that's more exciting.
The Roid League.
I mean, maybe not, right?
Well, you're a brutal fan.
Hey, man.
Like, if all the fans were as brutal as you, like...
Listen, you don't understand. The word fan comes from fanatic.
Fanatic.
Right?
Yeah.
I'm a fanatic. I want to see somebody get jumped over. I want to, watching UFC, I want to see somebody get knocked out. Like, you know what I mean?
You're looking for Robot League.
No, man, robots can't do what humans can do, man. I'm going to tell you right now.
But have you seen those ones they've been developing? It's called Boston something or
No.
Dynamics.
Boston Dynamics.
Boston Dynamics, no.
Have you not seen them?
Mm-mm.
It's scary.
It's terrifying.
It's scary. Like there's human sort of based ones. There's four-legged ones. There's like dog ones. Like you kind of like they push them over and it can get back up.
Like, do they compete in something? Like, what do they do? Is it
No.
just a show? What is it?
It's going to be military applications for sure.
Oh, see,
like you
yeah.
can see it in the way they move. Like it's
They can jump. You can they hit them with sticks and it'll knock it and it'll correct itself and they can do crazy dancing, backflips like.
See, I've seen way too many movies for stuff like that,
Oh,
man.
it's like that.
It's like a cyborg movie.
Yeah, that's the tough stuff that makes me nervous,
Yeah.
man. You know
It's
what I mean?
scary, actually.
Yeah.
You can like Paul said, you can see the application.
Yeah.
And you know how that will be used
Yeah.
for, let's say, not good.
Yeah.
It's not going to be like help you clean up.
No, right, exactly.
Yeah. It's just the posture of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, just
it's got excellent posture.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
It just looks very aggressive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm good, man. I'm seeing
No
too many-
robot league.
No robot leagues.
So I found out I've got this like health condition, right?
Yeah,
and
yeah.
it made me think like, because I'm not getting any younger, like,
Oh, right.
and you hear about people having testosterone replacement and human HGH
Yeah.
or whatever. Like, see, I've got this thing like lax joints, right? And it's not hyperflexibility. It's like my ligaments do. I think it's going to be like about 60% of the job of yours.
Okay, got it.
So I'm prone to be more injured. That's why I have the shoulder issue.
And I was going to ask, can you do jiu-jitsu, man? Like,
It's so
like we attack
stupid.
your joints,
it's
man.
so fucking stupid. Like I don't know. And it's because I've had both shoulders, right? Like
Yeah.
like in most times I go to training, I'd say 50% I'm gonna come back with a new niggle, right?
Got it, yeah.
Like and so I've got to try to make the muscles around the joint stronger. So
Yeah.
I knew I had this sort of thing, and like I try to work the small muscles and
Got it, yeah. The
stabilize
stabilizer muscles,
and
yeah.
do bands and stuff like that.
Man, it's physical therapy every day. Like, oh gosh, that's a rough life, brother. Physical therapy sucks.
So it's kind of like what I do, right?
Yeah.
And then I felt this sort of like little, I don't want to say pain, but something unusual in my chest.
Yeah.
So I just went to the doctor, and he was kind of good. He said, look, he goes, let's not mess around. Let's just go get some scans. He said, honestly, he goes like, I used to, younger people or healthy people, he used to just say, no, you're fine, sort of thing. And he turned someone away, and that person had cancer. So he was like very much like, let's go check it.
Yeah.
So I got these scans, and they scanned the lungs and stuff like that, and everything was kind of cool. They said, there's a little scar on your lung when you maybe had a bad bronchial sort of thing.
Yeah.
But they noticed something in the heart. So then I had to go to like this cardiologist, right? And then he said that I've got really high levels of calcification in the blood. So he said like what it is like in the valves or the veins, right?
Yep.
There can be cholesterol out here, right? And if it's sort of like a slight sort of leak, the body will like throw this sort of plaque at it, like the plaque on your teeth, to patch it up, right?
Patch it up, right?
But what that does is like if there's a patch, then there's more pressure on this sort of thing going through. And he said this is called calcification. He goes, you've got extremely high levels of calcification for your age. I was like,
scary.
Well, how high? And he's like really high. I was like, well, like what would be the biological age?
Right.
So he went online. He goes, oh, that's a good question. I'm like thinking, not really. It's a normal question. I thought maybe you would have told me that.
Yeah.
And he looked into it, and he's like, he goes, oh, I was like, what? He said, you're half Asian, right? I was like, yeah. He goes, well, if you consider yourself white, it's your biological age is 85, right? Serious. In my heart. He goes, now if you consider yourself Asian, it doesn't even calculate. I was like, oh, okay, so better to be white, right? He's like, in this situation, yes. But yeah, so I've got this thing, like, so he's saying, like, you got to, like, lower your cholesterol, even though it's good. He goes, like, I want it lower, and he's giving me this medication to take every day or whatever. I keep forgetting. But yeah, so I sort of found this out, and then it starts making me think, like, I don't know, like, is there other things that I can take to sort of be, I don't know, help me with repairing, because what it is what it might be is, so I was doing physio at the time, and I spoke to my physiotherapist because she was the one that said, oh, you've got this lax joints, Paul. Yeah. You need to look after it in this certain way. And then I told her about the heart thing, and she was like, oh. She worked with a physiotherapist that specialised in this disease. I forgot the name. You know when people, they pinch the skin and it doesn't go back? Have you ever seen that? I haven't. It's kind of like you do that and the skin doesn't spring back, right? Yeah. And it's a soft tissue degenerative disease. She goes, maybe you've got a level of that. Right. Because I mentioned to the cardiologist, and he said, yeah, it's like your soft tissues are weak. Right. Which the ligaments...
They've lost this elasticity, right?
Yeah, well, they're just not what they should be. Right. So then she sort of told me about that, and then I started looking up that, and it's like, okay, like, there's varying degrees to it. Like, obviously, I don't have it in the skin sort of sense. Right. But you can't... There's no test for it. There's no way that, you do a test, oh, yeah, you've got this. Yeah. But the life expectancy for those people is 48.
Oh, my gosh.
So I don't know what.
How old are you again, Paul?
47.
Oh, gosh.
No, I'm 47 in February.
Oh, yeah, that's right. We talked about this, because I'll be 43 in February,
Yeah, so, so it was just what I was been wondering, like, like this, I don't know, should I take, like, see if I should qualify for testosterone replacement therapy or HGH, or would that should even help? I don't know.
Right. I mean, I don't know. Look up some data, find out, right, and ask. I mean, the worst question you could have is the one you don't ask.
So expensive, that stuff.
Well, I don't know, but I would look into it.
I'll just keep eating the way that I eat.
I was gonna say, and at the end of the day, if you just keep eating good, not a cheeseburger,
stay away from that thing.
Not a cheeseburger. You'll probably be okay. Yeah, that must be rough to deal with, man.
No, I don't think, like, I just kind of, like...
No, sorry. Let me make it clear. The joints, the elastic joints or whatever, doing jiu-jitsu.
Oh, that sucks.
Oh, gosh.
Like, if I do, like squeeze my wrist hard there, like squeeze it hard, feel it come out? Yeah. So, like, if I, do, some chokes, like it sort of separates a bit, so I can't.
So you let it go.
Yeah, I just let it go because I'm going to hurt myself.
Yes.
Yeah.
My hands, I'm to the point now where I'm like, I just want to do no gi because...
Put your hands on the...
Because my hands... To the camera. My hands are terrible.
Is that all football? These two are mental.
So these two are football.
And that's like where the ball just...
okay, let me show you. This one, the middle finger... I played wide receiver before I played corner. So I was in college. I was running to take a handoff on a reverse, meaning like they run this way and I run back this way, but I'm running full speed. And I go to take the handoff, but I didn't put my hands right. I had my hand like this, and I jammed it into the forearm of the guy handing me the ball, dislocated my finger. This one I dislocated in a game. I was trying to tackle the quarterback. I was hanging on to his pads by the front, and we're both falling, and I'm pulling him down, dislocate my finger. Now, jiu-jitsu from grips, dislocated finger. This one I had my coach back home in a Kimura, and I'm like, oh, I'm gonna catch my coach. Idiot. Stupid to think that. Dislocated my hand, trying to submit my coach. And the pinky, I actually dislocated my very first day of college football practice. So we're catching balls, and I go to catch the ball wrong, pop, dislocates my finger. And I dealt with this pinky longer than anything. Oh my gosh.
Well, do people look at it like if you're just like in the shops and paying for something? Can you see people look at it? Because they look pretty creepy.
No, I mean
It's like a witch's hand.
yeah, like no, it was worse before, man. Let me tell you. So the pinky, right? I'll be playing basketball somewhere, and like somebody, if you throw somebody the ball and it kind of hits your hand weird, and oh my gosh, my finger, and I would be like, oh, and I'll shake it, and people would lose. Oh my God, what happened to your finger? No, because it's dangling like just attached by the skin, right?
And do you pop it in?
No, it didn't pop back in. It just flopped around. But I was like, nah, I'm fine. I'm just messing with you, But, yeah, I'm just messing with you. But no, when I would dislocate fingers, I'll just pop it back in. So like on the field, pop it right back in. Finger, pop it right back in. Just keep playing, I dislocated my right thumb playing basketball because I could jump. I was a guy. I could stand under the goal, even at this height. Well, not now anymore. I'm an old man, but I could just stand, no gather. I could jump and dunk the ball with two hands.
Shut up.
Yeah.
Can you?
I mean, I could probably still dunk now, but I can't do that anymore. I mean, a vertical dunk, just jump with two hands.
How tall are you?
5'11". Wow. 180 centimeters.
That's cool.
So it's to the point where, I just can't do it anymore because I'm an old man. But if I got a running start, I could probably dunk.
Oh.
But I forgot why I was telling you this.
Your finger.
My fingers, but so my thumb. So I played basketball in high school, and I was actually a good shot blocker, right? I loved blocking. I wanted to do two things. I wanted to dunk, and I wanted to block your shot. That was it. I didn't care about a jump shot. I didn't care about a layup. I just wanted to dunk on people or block your shot. So we're playing. I'm at practice.
The confrontational things.
Yeah, it was the confrontational thing. So we're playing basketball at practice. One of the bigger guys goes up, and I go to block his shot. I'm trying to pin this thing against the backboard, right? And I miss, and I bang my hand against the backboard, dislocate my thumb. And I'm just like, what the heck? I think this is my first realization of like, okay, like your hands are going to be torn up. Yeah, they're going to be a problem as you get older, right? But man, it's not fun, my friend.
I remember when around that time I said I'd go play soccer again, so I can drink more.
Yeah.
Like after practice, it was the time around when I think the dream team. Going to the Olympics or whatever. I think how long ago is this going to be? Like we're into
30 years.
30 years ago.
30 years.
And
what was it, 1990 or 92 or something?
It must be like 90 or 92.
Like when it hits 2022, I promise it's going to be 30 years at least. I'm sure of it.
Right.
Yeah.
It was the first time like Barkley, Pippen, Jordan,
Stockton.
Right, all those guys. So like basketball's not that big in Australia, but when that was sort of on, like people were kind of into it, and the Bulls were doing well at that time.
Oh yeah, that was when Michael was on top, man.
Right.
Yeah.
So we were like, there was this school near where we do football or soccer practice, right? So then after it, we'd like go drink some beer and we'd play basketball. So it was like on a bitumen, like an asphalt court. So not very forgiving, right? No smooth floorboards or whatever. But the height of the basket was reduced.
Oh, those are the best to play on. Those are so much fun.
So I can't jump that.
Yeah.
I'm not like you, right? But like, if it was kind of like in proportion for us. Like, so if you got a good run up, you could like dunk.
You're a LeBron James on this goal, right?
We were in the dream team, right?
Yeah.
And like, we were like so competitive with it. Like, we'd play football practice, we'd be into it or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, you tackle your mate pretty hard.
Yeah.
This was like in White Man Can't Jump where they're all like up in each
face
other's
savage, right?
That's what this shit was like. So like, you'd be like, your mate would be like up there like flying through the air like Jordan, then you could just come up and go and smash it down, and he'd be like on his back on the bitumen. It was so cool that we could like dunk it.
Oh man, in the States, so we would, when I was a kid, we would find goals that you could lower. Right? So, I could dunk on a 10-foot goal, but if we could play on an 8-foot goal or a 9-foot goal, let's do it. The 8-foot goal was the funnest, right? Because we'll catch balls off the rim and dunk on each other.
Like launching from far
out. Oh, yeah. And I'm talking like guys will go to dunk the ball and other guys are coming to block it. And we're talking legit collisions in the air.
Yeah.
And like you mentioned, guys getting knocked on their back. It was so much fun. It was so painful, but it was so much fun.
It
right?
was super cool. And like, what is it, alley-oop?
Oh yeah,
Doing
all
stuff
day,
like
all
that.
day. So
enjoyed it.
we would play a game called tips, right? So like you play 21, a couple guys, and then but if somebody jumps in the air, catches, so if you shoot and you miss, if somebody jumps in the air and catches it and shoots it before they land on the ground, we call it a tip, right? So if you get tipped, your points go back to 0. So we were trying to there was a point where we were playing dunk tips, right? The only way it's a tip is if you catch it and dunk it.
Okay.
So instead of just catching it and and then throwing it back up, like somebody bricks, you catch it, boom, and you dunk the ball. That's when they go back to 0. It was so much fun, Paul. It was, oh my gosh, it was so much fun. And I was a guy I could jump, right? So I was winning a lot. You know what I mean? And if I'm playing with a bigger guy, it's not so much fun because he's already there. Standing there. All you got to do is jump a little bit. But man, playing on those little goals, it's so much fun.
But basketball's a fun game.
Yeah.
Because like I said, it's not much of a thing in Australia. Like we played after training and stuff like
Yeah.
that. Fully got into it, but that lasted for about a year.
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
like after the season was done, and then I think what actually happened after training, instead of going there and drinking, we'd stay in the park and drink. There's a lot of drinking. It's Australia.
Yeah.
But I there was at work, and there was like someone was playing in a basketball league, and they were doing it at lunch or whatever, and so I went and played. Like, it was super fun. Like,
Yeah.
I can't get it in the hole that much, but like I could just run and chase it, and then like pass it to other people.
But there are other things you can do, right?
Yeah.
Like maybe you're good at rebounding, right? Maybe you're good at playing defense. You know what I mean? Maybe you're good at passing. Maybe you're not the best shooter, but that doesn't mean you don't have any worth on the court.
See, this was a mixed one, so there was girls as well. So like you kind of,
gosh.
you like you want to win, but you don't want to be the dude like who accidentally like lays out a chick on the floor and is like standing there like.
I'm gonna tell you, man. I've played with in college we would go play in like it's like a student center where you could go play sports, right? Basketball players would go, football players would go. We would end up playing like basketball players in games, right? Typically they would beat our ass, okay?
But you guys are like,
but we gave them hard games.
Right.
You know what I mean? Typically they'll beat us. I mean, I think maybe we would win 2 out of 10 games, right? And most of the time they just ran through us. But it would be a hard, it'd always be banging and and sometimes like the girl basketball players will come in there and they'll get on like the men's basketball teams and we're like, oh damn, here we go, playing women, like we can't play as hard. Don't mistake it, man. These girls will mess you up, brother. I mean, what I hate about girls, playing with girls the most, is they're a little more technically sound, okay? Like, you go play with these college basketball players, a lot of these guys are just jumping in the air, catching the ball, dunking the ball for a rebound. They just jump because they can jump higher than you. They're taller than you, right? But girls, they will box out, meaning like they'll put their body on you to push you out of the way to get the ball, right? And girls, man, they would box you out and like you would take a booty cheek on the knee or on the thigh and you try to jump and all of a sudden you're falling down because this girl just put her ass on you,
they just
right?
know how to like check you at the right time.
Oh man, girls are dirty, man, because like let's be honest, like you could go play with some girls, but typically as a kid, you're going to play with the boys. If you're a girl that plays basketball, you're at the court with the boys. There's not a lot of girls playing.
They have to lift it.
Right, they have to go play with the boys because a lot of girls, they'll go play, but you're not going to get a whole court full of just girls. There are going to be some guys, right? And they're rough, man. But it kind of sucks because you don't want to lay this chick out or I'm about to just pin her stuff against the board. You know what I mean? Now these girls that are good, they'll say, "No, play me hard like I'm a dude." You know what I mean? But it's never a good look for you, right? Either you're going to play hard and she's going to work you. Or you're gonna play hard and you're gonna beat her up and you're gonna look like
you're gonna be that ass.
You're gonna look like an ass, right? Like, oh, you play hard against a chick, huh? So you kind of damn like rolling with a chick, right? What if you're rolling with a 3-stripe black belt chick, but she's smaller than you? I mean, yeah, I'm a lower rank, but like what's the etiquette? Do I beat her ass or?
Do you know who Michelle Nicolini is?
I don't.
So she won like the world's loads. She won Abu Dhabi.
Yeah.
Loads like really good.
Yeah.
she used to come train every month with us too.
Okay.
And I got to roll against her, and you know, like I'm all right. I've been doing it for a while.
Yeah, you've been
right?
doing it for a
Like,
while. Yeah.
So it's like, whenever you roll with someone, it's like there's this unspoken language of like, you know, what's the intensity going to be, sort of thing. Like, and you always want to be like a gentleman, right?
Of course,
like,
of course.
I generally let the other person dictate it, right?
Agreed.
And then I didn't know, like, I don't know, you know, like, and her game's like very like on a back, or like she do a lot of the shin to shin sort of thing. So like, you know, you start and she's like, boom, onto my shin. It's like, oh, okay, fuck. Like,
you're like, I better play, right?
But if that's a dude, I'm just gonna put my hand on his head, and just palm off like, like hard and try. So, like, oh, shit, like, you know, her hair looks really nice. Like, it's pulled up into a ponytail. I can't just. Palm a skull.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, you could.
Well, I didn't know.
But you could look like a dick doing it, right? And it's like, so, well, what's the etiquette, right?
Well,
so
I ended up like just playing a really like light, fast game, and like if someone's really good, I just want to at least make them think.
Yeah,
Do you know
for
what
sure,
I mean?
for sure. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, but
so did she beat you up?
I would never ever say anything about what happened on the mat. No, she was extremely technical, right? And she's probably the same thing. Like, well, what level should I? You know,
should I do it?
She's probably like, should I really emasculate this poor bastard in front of everyone? Or
no, and that's the thing, right? So, I really haven't gotten an opportunity to roll with a high level brown belt or black belt, right?
Never?
Woman.
Okay.
And like I'm a little bit worried about the etiquette, right? So like. I mean, I know I'm not a small guy. You know, I know I'm a good athlete. I know I have some skills. Maybe they're not what this black belt would know, obviously. But I mean, I'm bigger. I'm considerably stronger. Like, do I use it against her? Do I just?
No, you can't.
Yeah, and that's what I mean, right? So it's kind of my initial thought is no, you don't. No, don't do that, right? Yeah, you might get beat up, and she'll beat you to some techniques, but whatever. You know what I mean? So. But then, like, I've heard some girls get mad if you don't. Like, the higher belts, they'll get mad if you...
Yeah, they want to be treated...
Like treat me like I'm a black belt. I'm a black belt. You know what I mean? And it's like, I mean, really, what? Because what happens if you're beating this black belt up and you're smashing her? Like, I'd feel really bad.
But I think if, like, they're... to me, if I've ever rolled against someone who's, like really, really high level and they're competing, like, in Abu Dhabi and stuff like that, like, unless it's, like, the regular coach, like, if it's regular coach and that person's getting ready, they want you to be...
Right.
As hard as you can. And,
right.
But, like, if it's... But as it gets closer to the tournament, you don't want to injure.
Oh, no.
Right?
Like, but that's anybody.
Right, but...
Men or women. Like, that's anybody.
Right, but if it's, like, if I'm not... training with them regularly and we've got through that unspoken language bit, then I'm like super
lax, right? You kind of
like you don't want to be the one that's like
you hurt our star, right?
Or like you see, like, I don't know, the UFC or whatever, someone can't compete because
they broke a rib
because of you. You know what I mean? Like, you don't want to be like that, right?
Yeah, no, really. For me it's like, I mean, I don't care. Like, I could get beat up. I could get tapped by a white belt. I don't care. Like, you caught
I'm
me
happy to submit and lose.
Yeah, you caught me for a reason. Whatever. Like, so, but it's just that, like, I don't want to be. For me, it's about the person I roll with, right? So if I'm going with a female black belt, like, I don't want to be on either side of the coin, right? I don't want to be like, oh, this dude, he's going super hard against a little woman, but I also don't want her to be like, oh, well, because I'm a woman, he didn't want to roll hard. I don't want to roll with him. You know what I mean? And it's like, what do you want from me? Do you want to go hard or do you not want to go hard? Like, I literally have to ask the question. If I was ever going to roll with a higher belt, that's a girl, like, okay, what do you want? Like, what kind of tempo do you want? Do you want me to give you the business, or do you want me to we're just rolling, doing what we do, like what do you want?
Yeah.
Because, again, I would never want to be the guy to hurt somebody,
No.
Or take advantage of a woman because I'm bigger and stronger. Yeah, I might not know as much jiu-jitsu, but size and strength matters.
For sure.
But then at the same time, I don't want to be disrespectful and be like, oh, I'm going to go nice and easy because you're a female, even though you're more skilled than me. Like what's the...
They wouldn't want that.
And they wouldn't want that, right? Like, they would be like, nah, this dude, he's, no, sexist fucker, get out of here, right? So so for me, it's kind of, what is it? Like, what do you do? What do you do? I've never been in this situation, so I don't know. When it happens, I'll let you know. I'll call you. Hey,
You come back on and let us know.
oh yeah, I'll tell you. Well, she fucked me up. Let me tell you.
Cool, man. Well, it's good to have you on.
Man, I had a great time, man. This
Yeah.
is. I love this kind of stuff, man. Get sit and chat, and have a conversation. This is cool, man.
I appreciate you bearing with my ignorance about proper football.
Thank you. Proper
Proper
football.
football.
So we're gonna stop calling it American football. We're gonna call it proper football.
But hang on, I got one thing to ask.
Oh, yeah.
They have the World Championships of it or anything?
Oh, talking about for American football?
Yeah,
Well, we have the Super Bowl,
right.
which is the final.
Okay, but you never call it the World Championships.
No, we call it the Super Bowl.
Okay, good.
'Cause
Because the world doesn't play it.
Exactly. I mean, in our mind, when we say, "Oh, he's the best in the world," right? Like we're talking about our country of the United States. Because if anybody else plays it in another country and they're good at it, the scouts are going to go find them
And bring them over.
and bring them over and play here, right? But nowhere in the world do they play this game. So if you said, "Oh, the best in the United States," best in the world, same. It's the same thing. You know what I mean? So, yeah, no, it's no world champion.
All right.
But
I was just checking.
And honestly, man, let's be honest though. If we played soccer, what you would call proper football,
You guys do play soccer.
but our best athletes play football and basketball and baseball, and then
Yes.
soccer is like the redheaded stepchild, right? So, but just imagine come on, imagine LeBron James as a forward running down the pipe with the, like.
It'd be formidable.
Exactly, right? So it's kind of like, everybody beats us in soccer, but we don't have our best athletes playing either.
But I bet you more people play soccer in America than football.
More people?
Mm.
I would say just because not everybody plays American football.
Right.
Not to mention, no females really play. There's a handful of females that have played American football, and there's a lot of females that play American football. Because think about it. Soccer. Think about it. We have American football for males. Like, what is the sport that's equivalent for females?
I don't know. What do
So there's
American
men's
girls
basketball,
play?
women's basketball. There's male soccer, women's soccer. What are those sports? So we have football.
Lacrosse.
There's men's lacrosse. I'm sure there are female lacrosse teams, but
What do you think the most popular sport in Australia is?
I don't know for sure. But I would say it's probably rugby. No,
It's netball.
netball. It's like basketball without the basketball goal, right? And you can't dribble.
You
And
can't
girl
dribble.
and women play it, right?
Yeah, it's traditionally a women's sport,
Yeah.
right? Like it's at the Olympics and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But because for guys you can play like rugby union, rugby league,
Yeah,
soccer, where like generally sort of when I was younger, girls just played netball. So
Yeah.
like it was like that was what all the girls played, where it was like mixed up for the guys. So
Yeah.
So by population,
Yeah.
that's the most popular sport.
Got it. So soccer is probably the most
Probably.
widely played sport in the U.S. because you have male soccer and female soccer.
So
right?
that is actually proper football.
Okay, man. Okay. Soccer is proper football. I will agree to that.
We better cut it there. All
All right, because we'll keep talking, man. Yeah, we'll keep talking too.
All right. Cheers, man.
That
Thanks
was
for
fun,
coming.
man. Thank you.
I enjoyed it.
Me too.